All right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here, and I'm here with Benny P. Benny, how we doing?
Yeah, not bad, man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Can't complain. So, Benny P, talk to us a little bit more about yourself and, a little bit more about your background for people that might not know you.
Just to get into myself, obviously, I have a bit of a decent Twitter following. I'd say I've been active on like MMA Twitter for about 4 years now. Uh, I had a few viral tweets here and there, but I think most people know me for the whole Jack Jenkins thing. I think that's my notorious thing. So Jack Jenkins had a fight against Freddie Linares for Dana White Contender Series, and I was just like, you know what, I like this guy a lot. I was watching a lot of his fights. I was a big fan of Jack Jenkins. You know what? If I can help him at any way or help me feel a bit more at ease about the fights, about his fight, because I'll get a bit nervous for like my favorite fights, as you know, as most fight fans will. So I decided, you know what, let's go through Freddie Linares' fights. And I went and found that he only had one loss, and it said by doctor stoppage. So I was like, you know what, let's go look through the archives. I went and translated stuff in Spanish. I went looked all over the place, and I found the exact photo of the cut on his eyebrow, and I sent it to Jack Jenkins, and I said, I reckon if you get him right there, you can cut him there, and if I think you can get a finish that way. And in the fight, we've seen Jack Jenkins take him down, start elbowing him in the exact spot I sent him, and that's pretty much what got him the stoppage, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely an incredible story. I remember that happening, when it first happened on the Contender Series, and it's definitely crazy that you were able to do that. And with that being said, too, I mean, how long was it taking you to kind of find all the different stuff that you did, and why Jack Jenkins? Out of all the different fighters, did you happen to pick to find this info for him?
So honestly, to find all that information, it probably only took me about probably like 5 minutes.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, I really just like, I was like, because I was looking in English and I was like, you know what, nothing's coming up, but I think it was for Budo Fight League or something like that, which is, a Latin American promotion. So obviously, uh, knowing that it's going to be Latin American, it's probably going to be in Spanish. So I just looked up, the fight in Spanish, or like Freddie Linares versus whoever it was. And then, yeah, a photo come up like instantly. And I was like, oh, jackpot. And I go and just send it straight to him. I'm like, yeah, I reckon if you get him there, because I had watched a few of his other fights as well. And I had noticed that Linares doesn't really check many leg kicks either. If you watch his fights, uh, he sort of fights like Dricus Duplessis a little bit. Like he sort of does the whole leaping 1, 2, 3 like thing, and he doesn't really have a bit of a like. He doesn't really have much of a base for checking leg kicks. So I sent that as well to Jack to tell him, your leg kicks will get off, because if you do watch Jack Jenkins's fights, obviously his leg kicks are a big part of his game. And yeah, I just said to him, your leg kicks will work. And also, I've got this photo of his fucking eyebrow cut half open. I reckon if you go there, that'll probably also help as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely did, man. That's definitely pretty crazy. Now, at the time when you did that to Jack Jenkins, did you ever like talk to him or anything? Was that your first time interacting with him?
Yeah, pretty much. That was pretty much the first time we interacted, was me sending that, because his first response was like, "Holy fuck, man, you're like a detective." That was literally his exact words.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, when you were doing that information for Jack Jenkins, like, were you just a fan at the time, or were you doing anything with MMA? Talk to us more about that.
So yeah, pretty much just a fan. Obviously, I was active on MMA Twitter, but like, not really doing anything too crazy on there. Yeah, it was literally just a fan. I thought, if I can help affect this fight in any way, help out a fellow Aussie, then I'm gonna try it. And thankfully, it worked.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely did work, man. And with that being said, too, obviously you watched some film on other fighters. Have you happened to been to any UFC events?
Yeah, so actually, because of the whole Jack Jenkins thing, he actually gave me a family and friends for UFC 284. So I actually got early tickets. I was one of the first people to get tickets for the event, because Jack Jenkins actually gave me, the family and friends. I'm not sure what the exact name is, but he gave me a code, and then I could go get tickets, and I got tickets for me and three of my friends. So that was a really great experience. Probably the not even like exaggerating, probably the best weekend of my life.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely sounds like it, man. Definitely sounds like a good time. And you've obviously been doing a little bit of fighter interviews as well too. Talk to us more about that, and who you think some of your favorite guests are that you had on.
Yeah, so I decided that because a lot of people were saying like because I'd been doing the videos for quite a few months before I started doing interviews. I was just trying to, just get my name out there in the YouTube space, like talk about anything fight related. And then I realized I had so many fighters that were like willing to talk to me because of the whole Jack Jenkins incident. So I was like, you know what, let's just try and see where this goes and try and do some interviews. And at the moment, I'm just doing Australian fighters on the regional scene just to help get their stories out there. But my favorite fighters to talk to. That's a hard one because all these Australian fighters, they've got some real interesting stories. But
We do.
if I'm going to talk just overall interesting story, it's got to be Jarrett Wilbraham. He's such an interesting guy. He was talking about how he's a professional fighter. He's like 7-2, but literally a year ago he was running from these guys because there was like four of them in a car trying to like hunt him down and run him down off his bike, and he had to go and hide and all this stuff. And he's a professional mixed martial artist, and he even knows not to try and go and brawl all these guys at once. Like I thought that was a real fascinating story. Like to for him to describe something where he feels a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Like in danger, even though he's a professional athlete. It's like, yeah, I thought that was just a cool story for him to share.
Yeah, yeah, no, that definitely sounds like it because I definitely never heard about that story. And yeah, with that being said, too, with all the different amateurs, I guess you had on. I know Lewis Christopher, Lewis Christopherson was a guy you had on. I also talked to him not too long ago. What's maybe some of your favorite memories about him?
Oh, Lewis Christopherson, he's just a gun. He's an absolute weapon. Yeah, talking to him was a great privilege because I really do think that guy's going to go real far. Like watching his fight, his amateur pro debut, not amateur pro debut, doesn't even make sense. His amateur debut, he looked amazing. He looked like a pro in that fight. Like I can't say like enough good things about Lewis Gustafsson. I do really think this guy's the future of the Australian MMA scene. Just watching him fight, yeah, he's an amazing guy. He's a really nice guy as well. Crazy deep voice as well. That's something I mentioned to him on the I was like, holy fuck, you got a deep voice for an 18-year-old. I was like, man, you made me feel like a bitch. Like I remember saying that to him. He's like, yeah, that guy is like, yeah, he's a man already, and he's only like 18, and he's gonna go really far. But yeah, it was great to talk to him. And yeah, he's already experienced so much that most professional athletes won't. Like he literally has been at the highest level in Steve Ersek's corner. So that was really good to talk to him about. And yeah, just going to Brazil. Super, super cool guy, super humble, and bright future.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like I said too. It was definitely nice to see your interview with him because I definitely think that kid has a ton of potential, and that's going to be a name I think people are going to be hearing pretty soon, and if they don't already know. And with that being said too, with you being in Australia, man, what's maybe some of your favorite things to check out there?
Oh, Australia, the beaches are perfect here, man. The best part of Australia is going to be the beaches. I love going for walks. That's probably besides fighting, my biggest thing is just going for walks. I love going to, we call it the bush. So the bush is just like, well, I mean, it's sort of like, what would you call them? Like, what do you call like it's like sort of like the forest pretty much. So that's
Okay.
the best way to describe it. So the bush, when we go stay, we're going to the bush. It's like the forests. So I'll go through like nature sort of areas, and I'll see kangaroos and stuff like that. Like there's a stereotype that Australians, we ride kangaroos and we jump in kangaroos, but we really, if you do go into any like wildish area, there really is kangaroos everywhere. Like there's a whole paddock where there's like about 80 kangaroos just hanging out like 5 minutes from my house, and I live in a very, very urban area. So like, yeah, seeing the kangaroos is cool. It does feel like a bit of a fantasy thing that people say, oh, there's kangaroos are everywhere, but they really are everywhere if you really want to go look for them.
Yeah. So more about those kangaroos. I mean, what is it kind of like to see one of them in person? I mean, what is their like kind of behavior like, and just like seeing one in general since I've never seen one in person.
So one of the best experiences I could mention about a kangaroo is I literally have a video somewhere on my phone. I don't know where it is. I've been trying to find it, relocate it, but I have a video of kangaroos literally just boxing it out in a paddock. Like literally, they're just boxing it out. Like literally, got their hands up, got their dukes out. They're moving forward. They're going 1-2. Like these guys can really box. Like I don't know how it is, but they're so light on their feet that they're literally like lunging at each other. Like they've got some good hands on them. I'll say that. Like just watching them, it's fascinating. Like I feel like if you could, start a professional animal fighting league or something like that. You could get some good matchups out of these kangaroos, man. Like they can scrap for days. They might be better scrappers than some of the people here, and that says a lot because we've got some good scrappers.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I'm pretty sure, like, in an interview with like Robert Whitaker and like Michael Bisping, he was saying that like like he would team up with one or something along those lines. But so yeah, it's definitely interesting that you actually saw them box and something like that live.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I would pay to watch them box, to be honest. It was generally that good of an experience. I will say UFC 284 was definitely a better experience, but that's because there was multiple fights. I feel like if you got a whole card full of these kangaroos boxing out, who knows? I don't even know what level these kangaroos are at. These could have been amateur level kangaroos. Maybe the pro kangaroos are even better.
Yeah, yeah, you never know, man. And it's funny too. You mentioned something about like riding the kangaroos because when I had Lewis on, I asked him something about the kangaroos, and he was like, "Yeah, it's not like I ride him to school or something." And I totally thought since I'd never seen him that like that was actually possible.
Yeah, that's a thing a lot of non-Australians will ask. Like they'll say, "Oh, so can you ride the kangaroos? Can you sit in the pouches?" It's like no, they are not creatures that let you get very close in the wild. If you go to like a park or something, they'll maybe let you feed them, but because they've got like their joeys in their pouches, they are very defensive. So if you touch their pouch, they're gonna kick you in the head or punch you in the head.
Does not sound fun, especially after you just mentioned you saw them boxing and stuff. And when it comes to just like Australia too, man, I mean, what's some of the best place to eat to? What? Yeah.
Ooh, best places to eat. I will say fast food, just fast food wise, we have a thing called Red Rooster, and I think it's one of the most underrated fast foods in the country. I don't know what the equivalent would be in America, but it's just a very Australian brand, and they have really good food. Like it's a chicken based thing, but I feel like that's one of the most underrated fast food brands. But in food in general, we have a weirdly good amount of Asian food places because we obviously Australia being so close to like Southeast Asia, East Asia, we have a large Asian community, so we have really good Asian food places. I would say, uh, yeah, and also we have a really like a lot of people don't know this about Australia. A lot of people think Australia is just full of white people, like it's just a massive island full of white people. But we're actually one of the most ethnically and racially diverse countries in the world. So we actually have a really big Middle Eastern community, and we have really, really good kebab places. I don't know if you've ever had a halal snack pack or a meat box, but that's like one of the best things you can go get. An Eddie place in Australia. Yeah, it's like a kebab, but it's just like a box full of the meat, the salad, and then chips, and then it's got sprinkled in with all these sauces, and it's like, yeah, it's one of the nicest things you can have. Not good for calories, but it's really fucking good.
No, it definitely sounds good. I definitely haven't had anything like that, but yeah, if I ever come down to Australia, I definitely have to check something like that out. It definitely sounds good. And yeah, you mentioned too, with your Twitter X following, it's pretty big now. With that being said, what's maybe some of your goals with your social media?
Social media. I'd love to get to the stage where I'm like somebody like the Art of War, who he's making so much money. I don't want to disclose how much money he's making. I don't know, but I want to get to a point where I can like be financially stable just by doing tweets, or what do you even call them now that it's X? I'm just going to call them tweets still, but yeah, I'd love to get to a stage where I'm making like, not like it's my living, but I'd love to just be able to make a significant amount of money off it. But if not, I just enjoy just making the tweets, helping get fighters' names out there as well. Yeah, that's one of my main goals with my interviews. I love to get these guys' stories out there because one of the guys I interviewed probably a month ago or a few weeks ago, Luke Daly. Nobody had ever interviewed him before, and he was 2-1 as a pro at the time. Now he's 3-1. He's actually the guy who went and got a twister last Friday on Eternal, and yeah, he's a beast. But like, there's some of these guys I've interviewed, and I'm surprised when I ask them, like, "Have you been interviewed before?" And they're like, "No, nobody's ever came to us before." It's like I don't know. It's weird to me. Like these are guys who I think have bright futures, who are entertaining fighters, and they have great stories to tell as well. So yeah, that's one of my main goals is to just help get these guys' stories out there, help get their names out there, and if I could help them by any means, then like yeah, I'd just love to get their stories out there.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's one thing that's been pretty cool about your channel too. That I definitely noticed that like you're always been like some of the first with like some of these guys, and with me being from like Pennsylvania, I'm kind of in the same boat. I definitely want to help some more of these Australian fighters if I can, and just like in general too. I was even thinking about like guys that are like even like Brazilian or something that can't speak English, and maybe having like a translator or something. I mean, it would be awesome to kind of help some of these like fighters just grow more because like even like some of the Japanese fighters too, man. I mean, they are all like some awesome sick fighters, but it's just like there's not a lot of people interviewing them and stuff. And I think that could be cool one day in the future to help these Australian fighters grow, maybe even some of these other guys that don't even speak English as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. Because if you look at a lot of these Japanese, Chinese guys, a lot of them have got some real interesting tattoos as well,
Oh,
which have
yeah.
probably got some like massive stories to them. Like, like I'm sure there's some cool stories because I feel like with the Japanese and Chinese guys, they're like culture is very, it's based on a lot of respect and stuff like that. So I feel like there's probably a big story when it comes to all of their tattoos that, nobody could even grasp what it's about. Like, some of them maybe have swords or something like that. There's probably some backstory to it. I don't think they're just getting it because it looks cool. I feel like there's some cool stories to be told about a lot of those like East Asian guys, even the Brazilians. Like Brazil is such a fascinating country to me. Obviously, so many people and a lot of these guys they come up from real rough upbringings. Like obviously Pahaya lived in the slums and stuff like that. The favelas. Like I feel like there's just some fascinating stories to be told from a lot of these guys from those sorts of countries.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really interesting that you mentioned that of all things like tattoos because like I was actually going to ask you a little bit later what your favorite question was, and I think that's actually my favorite question is asking like all these different fighters what their favorite tattoo is because like you mentioned, there's always like some sort of story behind it, even if it's just like my friend did it for me. Like there's always something interesting to it, and that's definitely one of my favorite questions. So, with that being said, what's your favorite question to ask these fighters?
Honestly, my favorite question has anybody tried to start on you or street fights? I love asking these guys about street
Mhm.
fights. That's one of my things. Because obviously, they're fighters. There's going to be someone who's going to say, you know what, looking at you, you're not so big. I think you can take. I can take you. So I always love asking these guys that. But it seems like most of the guys I've interviewed so far, they've been around a lot of level-headed guys that nobody's actually tried to like start on them. But I love asking the question just because I've trained in martial arts myself, and I'm not going to go and start trying to fight anybody because I don't think I'm on that level that I can just go beat a bunch of people up. But I respect that nobody's really trying to do that to them because I know when I started training martial arts in school, I had one guy who he would try and fight me because I told him I was training. So it's like I knew that maybe with these fighters, there'd be somebody out there who's trying to like make a name for themselves a little bit. But like, yeah, if I can start on this MMA fighter or whatever they were at the time in school, maybe they were doing amateur boxing or jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. It's like they think that can build a name for them. So I love asking questions like that. But it seems like a lot of people are nobody's trying to fuck with these guys. But hopefully, eventually, I'll get a story of someone trying to, and then maybe they just get like neutralized pretty easily with a takedown, and they realize, yeah, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fun question too. I think I might have answered that one, but I've definitely had that written down in my notes before. That's definitely a fun one, and so kind of like you say, there's not a lot of people that are trying to mess with them, which is definitely cool. But you mentioned you used to train in martial arts. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
So as a kid, I got into a lot of fights, and I kept telling my dad, like, I just want to train martial arts. I want to train martial arts because I had a lot of fights as a kid. Not that it's something to be proud about, but I did. If anyone tried to like piss me off or something like that, I would defend myself. But since training, when I did start training at about 15 years old, I haven't had a single fight since then. Like it really did uh, humble me, calm me down a lot. Like martial arts was probably a real big influence when it came to handling my anger as a kid. Because obviously, growing up, a lot of people do have a lot of anger just towards everything. They're growing up, they're finding outlets for hatred and stuff like that. But it really was a big influence. So I started off with jujitsu. I did wrestling, which Australian wrestling, it was sort of like a British style wrestling. I think my coach he was a British guy, but that was probably what humbled me the most was doing wrestling, which was like an hour of cardio in the morning after breakfast. I'd go and start having to run, do rolls, all these sorts of stuff, and then after an hour, then we wrestle. I did a bit of Muay Thai, and then I did an MMA class, which was really cool. Which was like very judo based, like a lot of judo based takedowns. So, sometimes when I meet up with a girl after a while, I'll show her like, yeah, I know some martial arts, and I'll do a hip toss on her. So, and she'll be like, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's one of my favorite things to use when I'm meeting up with a girl. in a safe environment, of course. I'm not just hip tossing her on the ground or anything like that. And I do ask if it's all right, but that's probably been something that's been pretty helpful in life because it is such a cool takedown to do, get the hip toss. Like it is something really cool that you see out of movies. So yeah, that's probably been a big help when it comes to scoring with the ladies.
Yeah, yeah. I guess when it comes to scoring with the ladies, I mean, when you got that Jack Jenkins thing going on, I'm sure you had a lot of ladies as well DMing you as well too, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I might overuse it a little bit. Like, yeah, so I'll like, yeah, so I went like a little viral. You should watch this clip. Like, I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
used that a little bit over the years, and it has helped. I won't lie.
That's awesome. That's really funny. And man, it's awesome that you mentioned you used to train in martial arts because it's one thing I always like to ask everyone to bring on the show. I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I've been teaching for 6 years, training for 19 years, and I'm only like 24 years old. So I just kind of love what I do with everything. And with that being said, man, what's maybe some advice you would give to some guys that are in my gym to keep on coming in, to keep on getting better and better every single day?
I would just say, just yeah, just keep going, keep going. If you might, some days, it doesn't feel like it's worth training, but maybe you got to figure out what your motivation is. Are you doing this because you want to defend yourself? Are you wanting to compete? Yeah, maybe think of something that angers you. I know when I trained a taekwondo based kickboxing class actually last year, which I started doing after I had a breakup with a girl. And it's like big motivation is to just think about how annoyed you are by the whole situation, and it's some of the best motivation. That's probably the hardest I've ever trained in my life. It's like if you it sounds weird, but maybe get a girlfriend and then get your heart broken or something like that. Because that's a real good motivator. That's something that will get you in that gym every single day because you don't want to think about anything else but training. But figure out what motivates you, in my opinion. If you have something that maybe pisses you off with the world, it doesn't matter. It can be, I don't know, political. Maybe it can be something that's going on in your real life, family situation, or maybe you just want something to be angry about. Figure it out and then go take it out in a taekwondo class, and it will give you like obviously don't try and like knock your sparring partners out, but use that in the training, in the cardio, in the hitting the bag, just to work technique, calm yourself down, and yeah, just figure out what motivates you and then just keep at it. That's probably the best thing I can do. I was training quite a lot, but I got injured, so my level of training went down considerably. But yeah, if you can keep going, stay healthy, then yeah, just keep at it. It's definitely beneficial to you as a person, spiritually, mentally, and even just competitively. It's just good to get some training in there. You never know when it'll come in handy.
Yeah, yeah, no, 1,000%. I definitely think that's some solid advice too, especially train a little bit as well too. So I definitely appreciate that. And one more thing I have for you as well too. When it comes to your interviews and stuff, what do you think is maybe the best thing you do, and what is maybe something you think is something you need to work on with your interviews?
So I'd say the best thing I do with my interviews is I like to keep it very like casual sort of conversation. Like I want to keep it like a 50-50 type conversation. Like I'll keep it in a way that, it's just like two bros talking, like pretty much that is the style of conversation I like to go for in my interviews. I feel like it's just I think it's a more natural way for me, like to ask the questions, like just talk a little bit, and then I honestly I don't write notes down. That's probably one thing I do in my interviews. I don't actually write notes down. I'll do a lot of research on them the day before, and I'll just memorize it. And then as we talk, I'll ask questions. Maybe they'll bring something up, and then my head will go like, that light bulb will pop up on my head, and then I'll think, all right, that's a good question. I've written that down in my mind. But for things I need to improve on, I would definitely say I need to fix my StreamYard somehow because it does freeze a lot. That's something I got to work on. I don't know how that keeps happening, but I got to work on that. Yeah, definitely got to do that. And just yeah, overall quality. Maybe that's probably something I got to work on is just the quality of the videos. But I feel like my interview style is pretty good. I've had a lot of nice messages so far from fighters and stuff like that saying that I've got good interview skills. That's I think my interviewing skills are pretty good. But it's mostly yeah, just quality issues for Streamyard.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense, man. I don't think you're the only one with that because I've had a couple interviews where they've actually crashed or something like that's
Yeah,
happened. So, like again, I don't even think that's you. I think that is probably like something with StreamYard. So I wouldn't even sweat that. But yeah, man, 100%. Like I said, I'm not even just saying that for the videos. You definitely do some solid interviews, and you definitely have some solid fighters on there too that I think not a lot of people are willing to take the chance on an interview. So
yeah.
definitely give you a lot of props there, man. That's for sure. And with that being said, man, thank you so much for coming on. What's your last message out there for the fans that are going to be watching this video?
Yeah, if you want to check out my videos, on my act on YouTube is BenDaman 2001. So Benderman. The story behind that is I literally, as a kid, I like to add dirt to everything. I don't know why. Adding Z and da into everything, like Ben Derman. That was the whole story behind that. I wanted to say I'm the man. I don't know why. It was pretty cringe in hindsight, but I've come this far. I'm not going to change it now. I feel like it's what people know me as. But yeah, I'm Benny PMMA on YouTube. Make plenty of interviews, just fight related stuff. I do some prediction videos. And yeah, I'm just trying to get as large as I can get, trying to build a following. And yeah, just doing whatever I can do to make my name in the MMA space and also help these guys get further in their career. But yeah, let me turn the question back onto you. What are your overall goals in this space? Where do you want to take this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So, with my personal goals, like I mentioned, with me being a Taekwondo instructor, I really would love to, if I keep growing, to kind of just go to these fighters' gyms and to like train with them and like do videos with them. I would love to like do like some kicks with them since I'm a Taekwondo guy, and then like maybe wrestle with them because obviously my ground game's horrible. So like I need to work on that. I think they could probably teach me some cool stuff, and then on top of that too, I mean, I like to kind of go the route you're going when it comes to like reacting to the videos. Maybe even some, I don't know about fight predictions just because I'm doing interviews. I've been on the fence with that. And then
Yeah,
I think another good one that I would like to do is for example, like when Buckley got that sick knockout and like, it's a 360 back kick to me in like Taekwondo. Like I could be like teaching somebody how to do that kick, how to defend that kick, and like why that knockout kind of works. So like I feel like in the future, if I can kind of get more on your level where I'm kind of getting more followers and have a little bit more time on my hands, I don't want to just keep doing interviews because that's all I've been doing at the moment. But I think I could do
yeah,
more like reaction videos, like you're saying, and then like maybe going to these fighters' gyms because I have like a couple gyms that are pretty local. And I think that could be a lot of fun for both parties. And yeah, just kind of see where I go, honestly.
yeah, definitely. Are you looking to? Have you ever competed in like taekwondo or kickboxing or anything like that?
So I have competed in like taekwondo tournaments as a kid. I mean, like nothing crazy or anything like that, but I mean, I definitely was doing like some sparring competitions and all that different stuff. Like when it comes to like fighting and stuff in general, I'll be honest, I'm pretty banged up. Like at the moment of this interview, I have like two torn labrums in my shoulder, so like I'm trying to get them fixed and kind of go from there. It's the second time I tore them, so I would love to like potentially get on like a karate combat or like Misfits card if like the price or the money was right, but like besides
Yeah.
that, I mean, I have no real interest in like trying to do it on my own unless it was like a fun like celebrity matchup type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the same as me. I know that I'm at the point in my life where I'm not going to be a UFC champion.
No, of course.
I know that's definitely not going to happen, and I've come to terms with that. But if I was to fight, it would definitely be maybe against another journalist, maybe
Exactly.
against I was going to say like a celebrity, YouTuber. Like I'll definitely do something like that down the line. There's definitely some YouTubers whose faces I'd love to punch in. Uh, if you've ever seen that Jack Doherty guy,
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes,
I
yes.
would yeah, I would love to knock him out. Like that's probably one of my goals in life is to knock that guy out one day, but I don't think that'll ever happen. I don't think I'll get to that space. But if I ever could, I would love to knock him out. There's a lot of celebrities I'd love to just put a beating on, especially if MMA. I feel like in MMA I could like really have my way with a lot of these guys. In a matchup. If Misfit starts doing MMA, I would love to build up my following and get on a card because I think I can. I think I could wrestle fuck a lot of these guys. Like I know people don't think Australians can wrestle, but I have some fucking really underrated wrestling. That is probably the best part of my game is my wrestling, and I also like I had some fucking power in my hands when I would ground and pound the punching bag and stuff like that. My coaches would like they would be surprised because at the time I was like a 66 kilo kid just fucking Habibbing these punching bags on the ground. Like, not that I'm not saying I'm on Habib's level or anything like that. I know I'm not amateur level fighter or anything like that, but I really do think against these like non-trained guys and stuff like that, I really do think I could give them some problems.
Yeah, no, like I think that would be a lot of fun. That's kind of where I'm at too, because like I said, like obviously doing like Taekwondo, I feel like karate combat, if I just grow big enough, it just kind of will be in my future, especially if guys like Ben Davis, who like I've actually talked to as well too, if he can get on card and like everything like that, I'm sure if my name keeps growing with like my Taekwondo background, it's only a matter of time for the right influencer or something. And dude, I definitely hope that matchup with you gets booked as well too. That would be hilarious one day in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Even at the press conference, I would fucking rip that guy to shreds. Like one thing I'll say is I feel like my trash talk would be really good in a situation like that. If I really don't like someone, I'm fucking I can get real good with my trash talk. Like I'm very quick-witted. I'm Aussie. I'm dealt with quick-wittedness my whole life. Like I don't really it's pretty hard to get under my skin at this point in my life. Maybe as a kid, maybe a little bit, but growing up in Australia in Australian high school, you really do get used to insults, and it does really strengthen you. So I feel like you don't really see it with all of these Aussie guys because they're real humble, but I feel like there is some like there is a lot of cheekiness behind these Aussie guys. Like if they really wanted to talk trash, like they really could. Like Aussies, I feel like we got some real underrated trash talk because yeah, we most of our we some of our arguments in high school are like Prime McGregor versus Prime Chael Sonnen in the trash talk. Like we just love to trash talk in school in Australia.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be hilarious, man. And yeah, like I said, I hopefully we can keep growing, and hopefully Karate Combat Misfits or whoever is willing to do these matches will take us in the
Yeah.
future and give us a good payday. And like I said, I think we could each have some fun on the mic with it, and just be a good time all around. So yeah, hopefully we can keep growing, man. And I think that'd be a lot of fun for each of us for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have like a if you do you have like a dream fight you could get in a karate combat, like an opponent or anything like that? Like what weight class would you fight at as well?
That's a great question. So there's only like one guy at the moment I would like consider doing it with, but I don't know anything about him like in real life. It's this his name is UFC Alien. He's got like 6,000
Yeah.
followers and stuff. Yeah, dude. He was calling out Ben Davis the other day in Karate Combat, and I'm like, oh, I have my two torn labrums right now. It's just like it's not the right time. Like maybe in like a year, and by a year I should be a little bit bigger anyways. I would be good to go. But I think somebody said that he's like around my height. I think I'd be fighting at, I'd probably say 135, 125. So I'd be in that weight class. And I think like I said, somebody said he was around that. So I was like, hey, once my shoulders are fixed, I'm ready to go with him. But I don't want to do anything MMA until like I got like a solid coach or something because, like I said, no doubt about it. If somebody takes me down, I'm cooked. But if I'm on the feet, I think it would be, a solid matchup for me against a lot of these different influencers, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Alien with definitely it'd be an interesting build up. Obviously, he'd make a diss track on you for
Yep,
sure.
yep, yep.
Yeah, that's something he does. He's got his diss tracks and stuff like that. So that would be real interesting build up, I reckon. You'd maybe have to hit him back with a diss track or something. I'm sure you got some pretty good friends in Philadelphia who could probably help you with those diss tracks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And yeah, man, like, it would definitely be a funny one because like I said, I mean the diss tracks are whatever, but I mean like if you're gonna do that and like disrespect for those guys, I definitely think you gotta like show your face or something at that point. Like I don't know. I think it's a little much sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you're, talking shit about someone's appearance. I feel like it is a bit one-sided. If you're not showing your face, it's like it doesn't hit as hard. Like if UFC Alien, hypothetically, he's a good-looking bloke or something like that. If he's going out there and shitting on people's appearances, like fuck, what do you even say? But the fact he's not showing his face, it's like, yeah, how good is it really? Like, how is he doing this when nobody even knows what he looks like? So yeah, I definitely get your point there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. Like I said, that's definitely the one and only guy I have on my mind right now when it comes to that. But I think that would definitely be a fun one in the future if I keep growing, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. Would you see yourself as do you have like a MVP type style, like an Anthony Pettis type style?
That's
Yair Rodriguez?
Yeah, no, it's really funny you said that because when Michael Page, I believe it was when he got that flying knee knockout. I can't remember exactly, but there was like one fight where I watched him and I'm like, yeah, that's my favorite fighter. And like I was going to one like Taekwondo tournament and I was just the whole time just watching highlight after highlight of him. And there's like a little short of me on YouTube. I'm like sparring these couple guys at this like Taekwondo tournament. I'm like doing like crazy stuff with my hands and like hitting them. And then I'm like doing like all kinds of like spinning back kicks, spinning hook kicks on him, and just like again, just trying to just mimic his style that entire day. So like I would definitely say like he's kind of more my style. And I love every fighter that throws like side kicks and stuff. Like actually,
Yeah.
Buckley commented the other day on me breaking some boards on my master's test. I was like, "Is the side kick the strongest kick you can throw?" And he was like, "No, the spinning back kick." And I just thought that was pretty cool because he's definitely somebody that throws side kicks a lot. And like Wonder Boy's fantastic. I love his technique Tuesdays and yeah, so I guess a little bit of everything for sure when it comes to that. But when it comes to Taekwondo, man, I freaking love Michael Page. And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check out his point sparring matches that he has. He's done like 720 kicks on guys in those matches, and like he just straight like disrespects them. It's insane, and I don't think a lot of people have seen some of those highlights.
Yeah, definitely. I love watching his fight style. I was worried that him versus Kevin Holland was going to be boring, but he went in there and he absolutely smoked Kevin Holland in that fight. I was
Yeah,
really surprised the performance he put in there. Like he is a fun fighter to watch, and I'm really excited for him versus Ian Gary as well. I didn't think that was a fight we were going to get this soon, but I'm really excited for that. And I'm like, honestly, it's like I'm sort of leaning towards MVP. I didn't think I'd be saying that, but I feel like Ian Gary might have to actually turn into a wrestler in this fight. Like it seems like a real tough matchup for him. So I'm really excited for that. That's going to be real cool.
yeah.
But yeah, I love that style, hands down style, moving around. Yeah, nah, beautiful style to watch.
You know, it's really funny too that people don't really talk about as much with MVP is like that he gave like Michael Perry like what probably one of his best bare knuckle fights. You know what I mean? So and like that's not even his game. And then on top of that, he has a couple wins in like boxing too, where he was also doing like that crazy stuff. But I mean, he wasn't fighting anyone too special in that. But when it comes to like bare knuckle, I mean, he was he fought Mike Perry and definitely gave him a pretty solid fight.
Well, I know a lot of people reckon that MVP got robbed in that fight as well. That's
Yeah,
a narrative I've seen quite a lot. A lot of people think MVP should have won. So that really does say a lot about his striking. Like even in bare knuckle, when he's a karate practitioner, where kicks and knees are his main part. Boxing, his hands aren't his main part of his game. Yeah, he's good with them, but he throws a lot of elbows. Like when he's just bare knuckle boxing and he's going in there and giving Mike Perry a fight, like that is a dangerous man on the feet.
yeah, yeah, I definitely think so. And like I said, I think a lot of people they're just sleeping on him at the moment with the Bellator and everything, and like, oh, Kevin Holland, whatever, he didn't take him down, all that stuff. But I definitely think if he beats Ian Gary, I think people are going to definitely take note of him, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. If he beats Ian Gary, I say just fucking put him in a title eliminator, in my opinion.
Yeah,
He's what, 36, 37? Like, what are we waiting for? Let's just, if he beats Ian Gary, I don't even care. Doing him versus fucking Leon Edwards, or him versus Shavkat, or even JDM. Like, there's some real fun fights you could put him in. Like, man, there is some strikers delights in there. Like, but let's not put him in there against like a grappler yet. I just want to see him in against strikers, just for the time being, just because his style is so aesthetically pleasing to watch. I really do wish we would have got that MVP versus Cedric Doumbé fight in PFL. To be honest, that would
yeah,
have been a sick fight.
yeah. It's funny. You mentioned that too with MVP. I'm not even caring about weight classes. I think my dream matchup with MVP in the UFC would be MVP versus Michelle Pereira. I think that'd be a crazy fight.
That would be absolutely sick, man. That's the one thing. Like Michelle Behay was killing himself to make that weight class, but holy shit, there were some good fights for him in that weight class. Like I wish the Wonder Boy fight happened, but like yeah, MVP would be sick. It would be like MVP moving backwards with his hands down style, and to be fucking Michelle Behay like fucking Pele kicking him in the head or something like that. There is some real interesting techniques in that fight for sure.
Yeah, no, like I said, that's definitely my dream MVP fight, no doubt. And I hope one day it happens, but I don't have my fingers crossed on that one with them being different weight classes.
Yeah, I would love to see MVP eventually move up in weight. I remember at one point he was saying he was going to move down to lightweight, so I guess the weight cut must not be too crazy for him at welterweight. So maybe we don't ever see him move up. But like MVP versus like so many fun matchups. Like I'd love to see MVP versus Paulo Costa or something like that at middleweight if he ever moved up. Like
Yeah.
Paulo Costa, Sean Strickland, like some weird stylistic matchups where you look at it and it's like, how would that fight actually play up with his style? Like how would he deal with the pressure style from like a Paulo Costa or a Sean Strickland? Maybe him versus Whitaker, both karate styled fighters. Yeah, there'd be some real interesting style striking matchups for him at middleweight. Even him versus Izzy could have potential to be either great or one of the worst fights of all time. Like it'd be interesting though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no doubt. I mean, that's the other thing too that MVP always runs that risk. It's just like like kind of like honestly the Ian Gary fight too. It's like there's a lot of people that are like, this is going to be a horrible fight, or like this could honestly be
Yeah.
like an amazing fight of the night fight. So he's definitely gonna be one of those interesting fighters with every single fight. But I definitely think he's like you mentioned. I didn't even think about like Rob Whitaker and stuff like that. Paulo Costa, I definitely think will be really really interesting now that you say that. So I think there'll be definitely some fun fights if he definitely wants to move up.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like his skill set would do really well. Like obviously the grappling at middleweight compared to welterweight is like so there's like it's like levels. Like welterweight's got some amazing grapplers and middleweight really like the best grappler in my opinion at middleweight is probably Fluffy Hernandez. Honestly, I think Fluffy Hernandez really underrated guy. That's probably the guy who would probably give him the most trouble just because he's like a Marab slash Colby Covington type
Yes.
guy at that middleweight weight class. That's I'm just gonna put this out there. There's a guy that deserves a lot more respect is Fluffy Hernandez. I think he's an amazing fighter.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, Fluffy's definitely pretty solid, man, and kind of like you mentioned, I think he would definitely probably give MVP some problems, and not even just MVP. I think he's definitely a dark horse in the division, and yeah, he's definitely gonna be a fun name to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Is there any like Pennsylvania fighters that maybe haven't made their pro debuts yet, or maybe are just making their pro debuts that you got your eye on? Like, let me hear. I want to know some Pennsylvania prospects. Let's just see how this ages in a few years' time, mate, when they're killing it in the UFC.
Well, I'll be honest. I don't know a crazy amount of like PA guys like that are like fighters, but I would say like I just got done an interview with his name is Baki or I'm gonna send you his full name, but I guess his name's kind of tough to pronounce. But Eduardo Caraballo Jr. That's his name, or Baki. He's a beast. He's 1-0 as an amateur right now, but he trains under Eddie Torres and Andre Petrosky and Pat Sabatini. So like he's at a pretty solid gym, and I definitely think he's going to be a fighter to keep an eye on. And there was a couple guys at CFFC on Friday that I was watching on grappling. Just don't know their names off the top of their head, but oh, I know one. Jose Soto. He's definitely a solid guy too. He doesn't have the best record right now, but I definitely think he's going to be able to turn it around, get a couple wins, and he could be a name to keep an eye on because at CFFC, Joe Pfeiffer was actually coaching him and everything like that. He was over at Marquez, so I definitely think he's going to be a solid name too to kind of keep an eye on as well too. Then she's not a fighter or anything like that, but I always love watching her compete. Amanda Maza, she's a pretty solid grappling person, so I definitely love watching her compete at CFFC. And yeah, I guess those are some of my prospects, I'd say. But I'm definitely not as well versed in knowing some of those guys, but trying to get better with it for sure as I've been trying to interview everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And something I've just realized you sound very similar to Paul Felder. I've just realized that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Paul Felder, it's funny you say that. He's somebody in my mom's side of the family is like related to Felder. I don't know how. I always forget every time I tell people this story, but like something about like I don't even know. Something about he's related to like my mom's side of the family. But long story short, I've never met the guy or anything like that. And that's been like always one of my goals to like tell him that so then it would be like a small world. I actually ran into him one time at the mall and it was like right after Christmas during COVID. And I was like, walking out of the store, and it was like Paul Felder and his mom were like walking past me. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Paul Felder, that's Paul Felder. And then he just kind of kept walking. I was like, that had to be him. And I like wasn't doing content or anything like that. This is like a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I like got on Twitter and I was like, I'm pretty sure I just saw you at the mall, Paul Felder. And he was like, yeah, that was me. Like, say what's up next time. And I was like, it's probably never gonna be it next time. But yeah, that's funny you say that about Felder.
Yeah, no, I just realized I was like, yeah, man, you really do sound like Paul Felder. That's cool though. He's got a cool voice. Like he's got a good voice for commentary as well. Like, yeah, he's definitely when you're just basing it on voices, like him and John Anik are probably the best overall voices. Maybe not their commentary style. I do think commentary style wise they are both very good, but like he's definitely got the voice for commentary. So maybe is the commentary path down the line for you? Maybe see you do some commentary.
Honestly, that's a fantastic question because, like, after seeing like Ben Davis doing it like with Misfits and stuff, and he's doing like sumo wrestling and like a couple other like random things, and like I followed this other guy, I think is like Danny Poliski or something like that. Sorry, I probably butchered his last name, but anyways, like I see them doing like commentary and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not opposed to it. You know what I mean? As long like if the money was good or something like that, I'm definitely not opposed to it. But it would definitely have to be like a solid offer since I'm like doing my Taekwondo teaching and everything like that.
Yeah.
Since I was 5 years old, I always wanted to have my own school. So that's always been the goal. And then randomly, since I started doing these interviews, I've just been loving it ever since and just kind of seeing where it takes me. So commentary would definitely be a thing if the money was right, but it definitely would have to be, competitive to what I'm kind of doing at the moment.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, 100%. Because yeah, I don't know what the commentary payment even is on the regional scene. Like, I've never really asked around about that sort of stuff, but I can imagine it wouldn't probably be that high considering, it is regional level.
Well, the thing is too, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it like on the weekends or something like that where I wouldn't have like
Yeah,
anything going on my full-time job. But if it had to clash, then like obviously then I'd have to pick and choose. But it's funny you mentioned that because CFFC is only like 20 minutes away from my house. And like I think they're kind of strict though with their media because like they have like Jake Noker and Dylan Rush. They're really, really solid guys. And I just met them actually at the grappling on Friday. And yeah, with that being said, I mean, they're probably not looking for anybody at the moment with commentary because they have like John Morgan and CM Punk. But like, yeah, I'm
yeah.
definitely not beating those guys. But when it comes to just like interviewing fighters and stuff afterwards, I definitely think, potentially they could maybe bring me in if my following keeps growing. And I don't really know any other local promotions when it comes to like, I guess like Stellar Fights as well, too, is also in like Delaware, which isn't too far away, which could potentially be an option. And honestly, now that you say that, that would probably be like maybe the only realistic option I can think of off the top of my head since they're kind of like a growing promotion with like amateurs and pros. So that could potentially be something in the future for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I've been looking at maybe doing a commentary gig. Nothing, I haven't been in talks for anything like that,
Yeah.
but I would love to do like an eternal event maybe because they're based in Perth and they do like maybe free. They're doing like 2 or 3 events the last like 4 months in Perth. So they're always in Perth. So I'd love to maybe eventually get on the commentary for that. I feel like that'd be really cool. That'd be a bucket list item for sure to just to say that I did commentary. You see me in a suit doing like a John Anik type thing. I'd definitely love to do something like that. I feel like that'd be really cool, but I got to build my following up first. Maybe I need the story with Jack Jenkins to go viral again or something, and then maybe I'll throw my hat in the race. But yeah, definitely commentary is something I'd love to do as well.
Yeah. No, like I said, I mean, it's definitely something I've considered, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I never really fully thought about it. But when it comes to like you mentioned, like the Stellar Fights, that's not too far away from me. I definitely think if I maybe got like 10,000 followers or something and maybe shot them in an offer like, hey, I'm willing to do it, even if it's like for free or whatever, I'd be more than happy to do it like for something just to get my name in the door for that. And yeah, I think it would be fun. So you never know.
Yeah, definitely. Commentary, like as a fight fan, to even just interviewing the fighters, I will say is a surreal moment. Like talking to
Oh
some
yeah.
of these guys, you're like, I'm sure it's the same way for you when you're like, you talk to these guys that you've seen on TV for so long. It's like, holy shit, I'm talking to this person. I will say the most starstruck I have been for an interview was definitely Steve Erceg. That's a guy I've been watching for about 4 years now, like on the regional scene. I've watched his whole come up. To talk to him was probably the most starstruck I've ever been. Like that was the most like, holy fuck, I'm interviewing Steve Erceg. Like I really did at that moment. Like I'm interviewing a guy fighting for the UFC championship. Have you had any moments like that where you get a little starstruck? You're like, holy shit, I'm talking to this person right now.
When I first started, I would definitely say because like I never did interviews or like had any sort of like background or anything. I'd probably say the very first one was like Terrence McKinney because that was like my very first interview. So like when he like joined the Zoom room, it was like, oh my god, like I actually have a real fighter in here, and like this guy actually has like a pretty big following. So I would just say like the very first one, I was definitely like pretty starstruck. And then when it comes to like other people, I would say like Raul Rosas, he was my biggest name, so like definitely like getting him on there was pretty cool. I would say like I mean I guess Kat Zingano as well too. I mean she's a legend, so like having like an honor to talk to her was pretty sweet. I think the funniest one was definitely like having Cody Durden on there because it was just like I remember like watching him on TV and like betting on a couple of his fights, and now like here I am talking to him, and then like I'm asking him about like what happened with the McGregor card, like why'd you get kicked off the card basically, and then he's like he told me a little bit about that, and then all of a sudden he randomly breaks his fight news, and I'm like, in the moment, like I couldn't even think straight for the rest of the interview. I was just like so starstruck, like this dude like randomly chose it like me to like break the fight news, and I was just like blown away. I still haven't even dropped that interview. It's probably going to drop tomorrow, but still, I was like, oh my god, like this guy actually picked me to like break his fight news. I was pretty stunned.
Yeah, why was he kicked off the McGregor card? Was it because he leaked it?
The answer he gave me was unforeseen circumstances. So I'll let you kind of think about that one, whatever you kind of think that could be, because that's what I'm thinking. But I mean, that's all he said, unforeseen circumstances.
Because when he originally got booted off, I remember he put out a tweet saying the thing they're staying isn't true or something. And I thought maybe he had a tainted supplement. I thought that's why it was, but he's back like instantly, right?
This
Like he's
is
fighting few weeks after that. So I guess it wasn't a tainted supplement or anything like that. So seems like a weird scenario, situation, whatever it was. But yeah, I'm glad that it's not like anything like that. I hate to see people's careers get fucked over by tainted supplements or anything like that. Like we're seeing with Khalil Roundtree. At least
Oh yeah.
he's only off for 2 months at least.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and yeah, like Cody Durden definitely seemed like a cool guy. So the other thing, like you mentioned, that was definitely interesting is like his opponent is still on the card. So that's why I was
Yeah.
like, what's kind of going on with that one. But I'm glad he's got a quick turnaround. And yeah, I guess it wasn't anything that he got popped for, hopefully. But yeah, all he kind of
Yeah.
gave me was unforeseen circumstances on that one.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, that's really good that you got that fight news. I bet it was probably surreal getting that Big Marcel notification, right? That he tagged you. I remember the first time I seen that, I was like, "Holy shit!" I feel like I've made it. First fight I ever broke was Jake Matthews versus Matthew Semmelsberger. Oh no, no, no!
Wow.
Actually, it was actually Jamie Malarkey versus Michael Johnson. Actually,
Oh wow. Okay. Very nice.
yeah, that was and that fight turned out to be a real crazy one as well. Yeah, I just remember getting that first notification from Big Marcel. It's like, holy shit, like this is Big Marcel. He's breaking my fight. Like, holy shit, that was probably honestly uh my craziest moment as a fight fan when that happened, to be honest. At that time, I think that was before, yeah, that was definitely before UFC 284. So that was before the whole Jack Jenkins story and everything. So that was definitely like a crazy moment when that happened.
Yeah, it's really funny too because like when it happened, the first thing I did was like DM Marcel. I was like Cody Durden just like broke his fight news. Like what do I do? Like do I tweet it? Like how should I tweet it? Like I was like asking him all different advice. Like I had no idea like what caption to even do or like if I even should because especially because like I was worried because like you mentioned or like I mentioned with Cody Durden saying like he's off the card due to unforeseen circumstances. I didn't want to accidentally leak his fight too quick or something. Then like the UFC get pissed off again again. So yeah, I was just like, oh, Marcel, like, what do I do? And he's like, well, if he told you about it, like, you should be okay. And I was like, well, I'll DM Cody and make sure. And then Cody wasn't answering. I'm like, oh, fuck you, Cody. I hope you're not going to be mad at me. I'm going to do it. And then he was like, no, bro, like, I was just doing it, like, like to help you out and everything. So shout out to Cody Durden. He's definitely a cool dude for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Cody Durden's the man. Yeah, crazy, crazy guy as well. That Hadley fight was crazy that he survived that fucking armbar, man. I thought his arm was going to get snapped. Well, I was one of the only people picking him for that fight as well. I thought he was super underrated going into that fight as well.
It's really funny too that I had to ask him about it because I feel like everyone forgets about it. But he fought that one guy in 2021, and he's like saying about sending the guy back to China,
Yeah,
and he was basically getting canceled. And I was like, dude, like what did you think about that? So I had to ask him about it. I definitely thought that was an interesting comment that he said too.
yeah, definitely. I feel like that got really taken out of context as well. I don't
Absolutely.
think he wasn't saying it because he wants all Chinese people go back to China. He was saying it because he's an American fighting a foreigner, and he had to send this guy packing back to his country because I'm pretty sure that guy lives in China. It's not like
Yes.
he's an American citizen that lives in China. He is literally China. I'm sure he would have said the same thing if he was fighting a Russian, an Australian, like a Kiwi or a Canadian. Like he would have been like, I got to send this guy back to Canada. Like people really blew that out of proportion, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And that's why I like had to bring it up to him because like every time I see Cody Durden fight, that's like always the first thing that comes to my mind. So like it was
Yeah.
definitely something I definitely wanted to hear what he kind of thought about it, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like people look for an excuse to cancel people, and Cody Durden was just the unfortunate sucker. Because I remember, I think even the Young Turks sport page did something because there's this guy, and he always all he does is trying to like cancel fighters. He calls Dana White like the I don't know. He calls him a fucking white supremacist. Like, I don't think that's very accurate. Dana White doesn't seem like a white supremacist to me. Maybe he wants white supremacy, as in he wants his family to get some more money or something like that. He wants them to succeed up the fucking hierarchy of American royal families or some shit like that. But I don't think he's a white supremacist, as in he thinks white people are superior or anything like that. But yeah, I've seen Cody Durden got talked about on there as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. But yeah, like I said, Cody Durden's definitely an interesting fighter, and I'm looking forward to that fight. And yeah, like I said, I have no idea. Like, I don't really have like any like insiders or anything like that. I just kind of do the interviews, and just kind of go from there. So the fact that he was willing to do that was definitely like a game changer for me, and I was definitely like hyped up for the rest of the day. I couldn't even like think straight when I was just like doing anything for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, whenever I would break a fight and it'd be like a massive one, I'd literally pace around my house like, "Fuck yeah!" I'm like, I'm getting out there in the journalistic world. Like, I'm MMA junkies. Like, I even seen a post like a because I sometimes I'll look up my app because I know that there's a lot of articles about like the fights and stuff I broke, and I seen one. It's like Twitter user Benderman 2001, who's a trusted source on Australian and New Zealand fighters. Like, holy shit, I've built this reputation. Like, MMA publication is calling me a trusted source. Like that was probably a really cool moment to see. So yeah, that your first fight you break is it's always a good one. But I reckon there'll definitely be some more in your future once you start doing more interviews and you get closer with all these guys. So yeah, that's just cool though, because we were talking about it weeks before as well. Before you had that Durden interview about how you don't have sources, so I bet that was really crazy for you to break one of those fights.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, like I said, I definitely have like no insiders or anything like that. So like the fact that he was even willing to do that was definitely like mind blowing. And like he like I said, he was playing it off. He was like, oh, I'll get a fight book soon. Then he was just like, well, shit, I'll just say it. And then he just kind of dropped it. And I was like, whoa, like thanks, man, because I was definitely like teasing, like like, do you want Charles Johnson? Do you want like this guy? Why were you kicked off the McGregor card? And then I guess he was just like, all right, like enough games, I'll just say it.
Yeah, who is he fighting again? I actually can't remember.
Bruno Silva.
That's it, Bruno Silva. Yeah, I'm glad that fight got rebooked. That was going to be a good fight. So yeah, I'm glad it's rebooked.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. I'm definitely curious to see how that one goes. It's definitely going to be a solid fight. I mean, it's definitely going to be a good matchup for both sides, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm looking forward to UFC 305. I've heard some matchups that are going to be on there. I think it's one of the worst kept secrets, but Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis, that's absolutely the headliner. I've heard a lot of things. That fight's absolutely going to happen at UFC 305, so I'm just going to put that out there. Worst kept secret in the sport right now, but yeah, Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya, that is definitely 100% going to get announced very soon. Yeah, I'm just going to say I've heard some things very recently. I know that Izzy's prepping for him right now, so yeah, that's absolutely going to be made. And also sure we're going to see Steve Erceg versus Kai Kara France for that card.
That'll be a fun one too. And yeah, I mean, I was interviewing Jack Jenkins, and he said he was confirmed on the card. He didn't drop who it was, but he did also say he's confirmed on it. So I'm definitely looking forward to whoever he's going to be against. That's for sure. It sucks it wasn't
Yeah,
Gabriel Miranda though. I wanted it to be him, but he says not him.
yeah, absolutely. I know another man who's going to be on that card. He's on my shirt right now, JDM. I know he's definitely going to be on that card, but I don't actually think he's going to be against Shavkat, which is pretty interesting. I think Shavkat's not going to be ready in time, so we might actually get probably JDM versus Kamaru Usman if he's willing to travel, or we just got to hope he's on the card because last time, obviously, the Kevin Holland fight happened the week after the Sydney card, so I'm just hoping that we get to see JDM in Perth again.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be a fun one, and I hope Kamaru Usman definitely takes that fight. I mean, that would be a fun one for each side too. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one if that one gets booked.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a healthy amount of fights we could get on that card with the amount of talent coming up right now. Obviously, got a lot of guys on contender coming up as well. Two confirmed so far, but I reckon there will be more from Australia. Just want to give a shout out to Sean Gauchi. I think that's a guy who absolutely should be on Dana White Contender Series. 9-1 as a pro, got knockout power as a flyweight, and he has a win over Steve Erceg. I feel like that's a guy who absolutely needs to be on Dana White Contender Series. Yeah, there's some real good guys coming up. Harry Webb as well. I don't think he's going to be on Dana White Contender Series this season, but that's a guy who everybody's going to know the name of in about 2 years' time. He's going to be an absolute weapon in that lightweight division. So I'm just going to give him a shout out there as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a good one as well. And I think it was like Cage of the Titans last night. They just had like Joe Giannetti on and Jonathan Pierce, and I think those are two guys that we could definitely see on the Contender Series too. I mean, maybe Giannetti, he'll be maybe interesting since like Dana White hasn't really wanted to give him a shot since he had that boring performance on The Ultimate Fighter and then was like flipping that guy off. But I think he's kind of been undeniable at this point. He's been winning nonstop, and Jonathan Pierce, I definitely think is another guy that's underrated that we'll probably see more of in the future too.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Chris Montino, he's on a really crazy run at the moment. He's on like 4-fight winning streak. And if you look at his record, he has some really underrated wins. I know he lost to Sean O'Malley, but like That's the fucking UFC champion. The the Guido Canetti loss is a bit of a head scratcher there, but Guido Canetti very underrated as well. But if you look at Chris Montigno's record, draw with Damon Blackshear, who is super underrated, is a really good guy in that bantamweight division, who arguably beat Mario Batista, which is like a crazy good win now after seeing what Batista did to Ricky Simone. He beat that Indo Trinidadian guy who was on Dana White Contender Series. He just got a really good KO this last weekend. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but I know he's from that country, Trinidad and Tobago's. But yeah, he's got some real good wins. He beat who's the other guy he beat? He beat Don Shanis. Like he's got real if you go through his record, Chris Montigno, he's got some really good wins on his record. Now he's just killing people on the regional scene again. So hopefully he gets another opportunity. I feel like most people aren't going to have a good showing against Sean O'Malley, especially on like a week's notice.
No doubt about it. And, it's funny you mentioned Chris Montigno. I just literally booked an interview with him for the second time, I think like next Sunday. Or next Saturday, but he's an awesome dude. And it's funny because when I first started doing the interview with him, I forgot to hit record, and he was trash talking Cheeto, because they literally just fought like Cheeto and O'Malley. And he was like, yeah, you were calling me a green-haired bum, but like, you took like more significant strikes than me. So like, what does that make you? Or something along those lines. It was awesome, but I wasn't recording. I was like, oh no, I lost it. But yeah, like I said, he'll be back on my show. So it'll be interesting to see kind of, where his head's at, being 4 wins now. And like you said, he's got a good record. He's got a solid name. I mean, he's actually like my most viewed interview. Like I've had like Raul Rosas and Katzengano, but like Chris Montigno, he's the guy that's like the number one when it comes to views. So people love him. And I just feel like it's only a matter of time before we see him back signed in the UFC or even a Contender Series. He's told me that the biggest reason that he got cut was, kind of like what you mentioned. They gave him a matchup that he thought he could win with Guido after taking the O'Malley fight, and since he didn't win it, that's kind of why they parted ways. But I think in the future he'll be back, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Guido Canetti is just a weird fighter too. He's like, people don't realize he had a real good fight against Chito Vera where he was like close to winning that as well. He's got some weird decisions on his record. Like his record doesn't speak to how good Guido Canetti was. Like also beat Randy Costa. He beat Randy Costa, who then went on to go and brutally KO Jason Knight, which is, MMA math doesn't work, but Jason Knight is a guy who back in the day did beat Dan Hooker. So, like, that is not a bad win to have.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And Chris Montigno will be fun. I think like that little whatever was going on, that 4-man tournament that those guys were trying to build, I think that would be somewhat interesting with the UFC if they took advantage of it. Or not even like the UFC, if it was just like on like a Fight Pass card or something on like a different promotion. I think that could be fun for like Vince Morales and like Trevin Giles with like those guys. That's who I'm kind of referring to.
Yeah, I did see Vince Morales wanting Chris Patino. So that would be cool. Maybe even like like you say, a 4-man tournament. Maybe they could have those two fight. Then Trevin Jones.
Trevin Jones. Yeah, Trevin Jones, not Trevin Giles.
Yeah. And then who's the other guy who put his hand up? He fought
Fernie Garcia.
Yeah, that's it, Fernie Garcia. I was about to say he fought the Japanese guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, man. Fucking hell. He's really good, though, the Japanese guy he fought. He's the Olympian wrestler. Oh, my God. How is his name? Not on the tip of my tongue. You know who I'm talking about, though. He's a beast.
I do. I can't think of him either, though. I could definitely admit that.
Yeah, oh my God. I've hyped this guy up for so long and I can't even remember his name. He won the road to UFC though. Sorry, I have to look this up because this is pissing me off.
Yeah, no, I can't think of him either.
Is it? No, he's not. Oh my God, man. I can't believe I'm not getting this right now. This is embarrassing. This has happened to me a few times in my interviews where I'm like thinking of someone. I'm like, I'm not even going to mention them because I can't think of their name. Like, Rinya Nakamura. I knew it was Nakamura. Rinya Nakamura. That guy's a beast. That guy's an absolute beast.
Oh yeah. No, he's definitely a beast.
Yeah. That guy's going to go real fire. I reckon he might seem a bit one-dimensional, but he's real powerful as well. He's got some solid hands. He's got that whole Bushido code type thing that Yuri Prohaska's got. I feel like Brilliant Nakamura is like willing to die in there because he'll go swinging with his chin up in the air. Like he's willing to go in there and trade, even knowing he's like an Olympic level wrestler. So yeah, that's a crazy guy. So Fernie Garcia, I feel like he got a real bad shake of things. Like you look at the guys he fought, like he didn't get really any easy fights in there, and then he goes up a weight class to fight Hyder Emil. Like yeah, crazy level of competition that guy fought. But yeah, real unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back too if he just gets a couple wins under his belt. But yeah, I definitely think Vince Morales and Chris Moutinho will be definitely some guys we'll see back in the future, and hopefully Moutinho because he's definitely got a solid fan base. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the UFC does with those two.
Yeah, I was also going to ask: is the reason you don't do predictions anymore is because of your mate like throwing you under the bus in that interview with oh, who was it? Was it with Chad?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah,
with?
Chad Enhelliger.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, is that why you don't do predictions anymore?
No, I mean honestly, that was such a funny thing because like my friend, he's like I guess you could call him like the typical casual fan. Like he doesn't really watch cards unless like a major name like a McGregor or whatever. So like I was like messing with him. I'm like, oh man, like you're doing Chad Enhelliger, like this is gonna be a little awkward because like I'd probably bet against him if I had to pick, like just joking with him. And he's like, oh yeah, that's it. I'm gonna tell him. And I'm like, dude, don't do that. And then like we were kind of going back and forth. He's like, yeah, I got like a perfect question. I'm gonna set it up. And then like, yeah, he was setting it up. I just knew it the whole time he was going to do it. And then like afterwards, I was just like, oh man, like I don't know if I should, I didn't want to like disrespect the fighters because I even felt
Yeah,
worse. It's like I booked the interview. I'm talking to this guy. I'm like hyping him up, and then like we get on the interview, and he's like throwing me under the bus. I'm like, oh geez, like that's not cool. I like can't be doing that to these guys. So I guess in a sense it kind of is why, but also it's like
yeah,
I don't know if like in the future if I was to make like a general prediction video of like let's say like Brian Battle versus Buckley, it's like a random matchup thing that's made. And I'm like, oh yeah, like Brian Battle this, Brian Battle that, and then like in the future like Buckley and his squad is like f you, like I'm not going to do any interviews and like all that 9 yards, and I just probably don't want to deal with that hassle. Like it's not worth the views in my opinion to lose like a whole fighter and maybe like some of their gym and their managers. So that's why I've been kind of on the fence about predictions.
yeah, definitely. I was doing regional predictions for a bit, but it's like two of the guys I interviewed are probably going to be fighting next. So, like, some of the guys I've interviewed are probably going to be fighting next. And it's like, I don't want to do a prediction on fights between two guys I really like and respect because it's like, I don't want them to think I'm picking a side or I'm disrespecting their skills. So, I definitely see where you're coming from. But, like, when the guys are in the UFC, I'm still going to do predictions, even if I don't think they're going to win. But most of the time, I think these guys are going to win anyway, even if it's a bit biased. I'm going to predict them anyway. You can put some of these guys against fucking Nuganu and they could be 6 weight classes lighter, and I'll probably still pick them anyway. So I don't
Yeah.
think I'll have to deal with too much adversity there.
Yeah, I mean that's happened with me recently. Like I interviewed like Trey Waters and Billy Goff, and they just had like an insane fight. And then it's just like like Billy Goff was an awesome interview. Like we were going back and forth for a little bit after the interview, and like Trey Waters was another awesome guy. So it was like super hard to like watch that fight and like kind of like pick a side. Then it's also like I mean like DMing them both back and forth. Like like it was an awesome fight, and so like I kind of also like the same boat. Like oh like I don't want these like guys to think I'm like playing both sides and stuff too. Like it's really, really hard. And I definitely think some people like that don't do this stuff. They don't think about that stuff on like our perspective. And I definitely think it can get tough sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like it's like, yeah, there's some fighters I really respect, and I don't want to just be like, yeah, so he's gonna lose because he's not good at this or something like that. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like I will ask some fighters some hard questions, like obviously, but I don't disrespect the fighters. They're stepping into that cage. They deserve all the respect in the world. Maybe I'll talk to them that maybe I see a few flaws in their game, but I'll speak to them mostly off camera about that sort of stuff because I don't want to put them on the spot like that when people are going to see this publicly.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying with like the Chad Anheliker thing. I mean, it was definitely funny in the moment, and Chad was definitely a good guy about it. But like, man, I was like sweating bullets, and he was like setting up that question, and I was just like, oh man, like I just feel like such an asshole that like he just did that to me. So yeah, like I said, I think that's kind of why I've been a little bit weary about the predictions, but because these guys they train their asses off, and like they're so much better than what I could
Yeah.
ever dream of. So like, if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be betting money against you, like especially after I set up the interview, I just feel like that's such a disrespectful thing that I shouldn't be doing, especially because I'm getting so many different guys on, and I only want to help their career. I'm not trying to be a scumbag with this stuff. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that would dream to be talking to some of these fighters, so I don't want to be that guy that's like disrespect them. And that's how I'm getting my name out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Have Has like your family been supportive of you doing the interviews? Like, how do they feel all about it and stuff like that?
It's really, that's a good question too, man. It's just like I just started on a whim. It was just like, what excuse could I use to talk to a UFC fighter? Okay, Terrence
Yeah,
McKinney is on X all the time. All right, let me DM him and ask him for an interview. Never would have expected him to answer me, especially like the same day and like almost in like an hour or two. And yeah, so I just kind of did it, and then like I got like I guess a cameraman, and then we kind of I was going over to his house for a little bit and recording stuff, and then like after I got a little falling out with him, I was like starting to do it on my own now. And now that I do it on my own, I have like way more of a better schedule. And they love it. I mean, they think it's pretty cool that like I'm able to talk to, because we would always watch The Ultimate Fighter together. So like they think it's cool that like I've met like Brian Battle and like Carlos Vera and like guys that are like on The Ultimate Fighter and stuff that they've watched. And yeah, it's pretty neat. And like not yesterday, but like last weekend, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. Freaking Mayhem Miller, he commented back on one of my Instagram comments, and I was like, dude, like I need you on my show one day, or just like anything like that was just like
yeah.
mind blowing to me. And I guess that's another guy I would say I was like starstruck by. I was definitely freaking out when he was like, yeah, like I'll check your DM soon. I was like, holy crap. He never did, but at the moment, but hopefully he does, because he's freaking awesome. That's for sure.
That would be an amazing interview, man. Mayhem Miller is like, yeah, he's a legend. Like Bully Beatdown was probably honestly, it's probably my first introduction to mixed martial arts. It was either Brock Lesnar or it was Bully Beatdown. Like I would
Yep.
just see the ads on in Australia. We have like Foxtel, and one of the channels is like Fox 8, and it will have like all the Fox content. And I would always see ads like, "You do have a bullying problem? Well, here's a way to solve it." And it'd be like fucking showing them punching and beating the shit out of each other. And that was probably honestly my first introduction to mixed martial arts. I would have been about 8 years old, 7 years old when that was all coming out. And like that was just so awesome to see. Like, so yeah, he is a trailblazer in it when it comes to like helping the sport of mixed martial arts grow, because that was probably a big introduction to a lot of people, especially a lot of the fighters as well. Like people don't realize DC was on there, Tyron Woodley, Eddie Alvarez, Andre Arlovsky. There were so many fighters that were on that show that people don't realize.
Yeah, and I think another guy that'd be hilarious just because of the name, but like I've always think he's an interesting fighter. I interviewed Keith Speed, and he fought Crazy Horse Bennett, and like obviously being Crazy Kev, that would be like hilarious to have like
Yeah,
Crazy Horse Bennett on there. I did have Tim, I guess Crazy Tim Crater on, but I haven't posted that one yet as well. But yeah, so I was trying to maybe find some fighters that also had that like crazy nickname, because I think that would be kind of funny to like share the show with same nickname kind of style thing.
do you know who I see as like the modern day version of Mayhem Miller now?
Or who do you think is that?
Charlie Campbell. I think Charlie
Oh,
Campbell is the modern day Mayhem Miller. He has the haircuts, he has the interviews. Like I feel like he is like the modern day Mayhem Miller. I think he's going to be a big star if he keeps winning.
I think so too. It's really funny you say that, because I was at, I guess not the last one that I was at, but maybe like the last grappling show I did at CFFC, and he was talking to like one of my buddies, and he like shook his hand, and then like he randomly walked over to me and like shook my hand. He was like, "Have a good night," and like this is like before I even did content, and I was like, look at my friend, I was like, that's just like Charlie Campbell, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, well, first of all, why did he shake my hand and tell me to have a good night, and like second of all, like that guy's like awesome, you know what I mean? So I definitely hope that he keeps winning, man, because yeah, he's definitely an exciting fighter. So it's kind of funny that you
Yeah,
said that.
he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
definitely fun to watch. Like he's got some good hands as well. And even on that fight he lost on the Day Night Contender Series, he was so close to knocking out Chris Duncan. Like that is one of the craziest comebacks I've ever seen in that fight as well. That was a crazy fight.
Oh yeah, I remember I was like I was listening to it when I was like driving home. I was maybe like a minute away from my house, and then like all of a sudden I heard like the announcers going crazy, and then like I had to like park real quick in the middle of the road, and I was like, oh my god, I was like losing my mind like watching it, and like yeah, that was definitely a nutty fight, and I'm definitely glad each of them got signed, because they're definitely both beasts.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that was fucking crazy and is one of the most fucking craziest moments in that fight was when they were showing the post-fight replay. They showed Charlie Campbell's family reacting to him getting
Oh yeah,
KO'd.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's funny you say that. I forgot about that.
that is one of the most out-of-pocket moments I've ever seen in mixed martial arts. And one of the commentators, I forget what his name is. He's the guy who does Dana White Contender Series only. He does the weigh-in show, but he was like so good. Like he thought that it was Chris Duncan's family, but it was Charlie Campbell's family, like going like that to him getting knocked out. I felt so fucking bad seeing that.
That's so funny you say that. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That actually doesn't get talked about enough now that you say that. That's definitely a really, really funny moment now that you say that. Well, not even funny, but just like, yeah, surreal
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, it's probably up there with also when Alien Perez, she won her fight and then she started twerking and it shows her son like reacting in the crowd. He's like, oh, some real
Yeah,
bad camera at times.
yeah, they're definitely I don't even know if that was like planned or not, but yeah, that's definitely a good one too.
Yeah, there's been some real out of pocket moments over the last few years with like family reactions and what fighters are doing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, these fans are definitely it's definitely funny that the UFC is trying to capture some of these moments. And like I said, I don't even know if it's planned or not, but if it is, that's definitely out of pocket.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, yeah, the crowd's becoming so much more interactive lately. Like, we even get like 3D. You know, some of the fighters are even some of the fans are pretty much wearing 3D glasses. You know, they get to see Arman Tsarukyan come and punch them in real life. So you know, it's like a real life experience out there for some of these fans. Like, that was probably a crazy moment as well. Arman punching that guy, that was pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, speaking of like 3D stuff, I do this a good bit too when they have them. The Oculus, if you do like the LFA stuff, like you can literally put the Oculus on and like watch these like fighters like come down the cage and like their entrance. It's like bright in your face, and then like you're like sitting in the audience and you can like watch the fights happen live, and like it's really really sick. And like I've been doing that a couple times with LFA. The only issue is like the Oculus just gets too heavy on your face after a couple fights, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a fun idea. And not even that too, you can also like talk to like people that also have the Oculus and stuff and kind of interact with them, react together with the fight. So I think LFA is definitely onto something with that, and hopefully more organizations take note of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see stuff like that. Like I remember I've only used an Oculus probably like 3 or 4 times. Like when I was in school, one of my mates, he's just super fucking rich. Like he just had everything. Like this would have been about 2016, maybe late 2015. His stepdad is like a millionaire. Like he owns like an air conditioning company, and he would just have all this stuff, and he'd let us play on the Oculus, and it is one of the craziest experiences of your life. I played like a roller coaster game, which was crazy. There was one where you're like, I was falling in the game. And I had to quickly take the Oculus off because I was like, holy fuck, I'm about to have a heart attack if I keep doing this. Like, yeah, it is crazy how like real that shit feels.
Yeah, no, I've actually never done one with the falling. That's funny you say that. I'll have to try that out one time. But yeah, like the LFA is definitely pretty cool. And because there was a couple times where I'd like they had like a big head kick knockout and stuff, and I was like losing my mind. I was like, that was freaking sweet because like you can see everything and it's not like coming at you and stuff. It just looks like you're watching like a big screen or like it from the cage. So it's pretty cool. And I think the other funny thing the LFA does, I don't know if they notice it, but like if some of the fans, if they're like close enough to the camera and they're like on their phone, like you can literally see them on like Instagram or Snapchat. And it was hilarious. The one time there was one guy who was on like FanDuel, he was betting the fights and stuff, and like we could literally like see like him like betting it live and stuff. And it was just a like random fan that was at the event live, and I thought that was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. Yeah, I wish more promotions would do stuff like that, to be honest. Like, that would be really cool to see for like a UFC event. Like, I wish they would have experimented a bit more when they were doing like the Apex main events at like pay-per-views and stuff like that. Like, would have been cool to like have like an interactive type thing for like the Usman versus Burns fight, especially. Like, that face-off was probably one of the most like crazy face-offs you'll ever see. Like, it would have been just cool to have like a camera where you can like sort of feel like you're in the crowd there or something like that. But I feel like they're probably not going to experiment with stuff like that since they're finally going to be going out of the Apex a lot more now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And I think one thing that would be pretty cool with the UFC, even if they don't do like something like the Oculus, was maybe if they take like that karate combat route, and if they take that karate combat route, maybe like do an event like outside, because that's what I kind of thought like the UFC Fight
Yeah.
Island would be anyways. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was hoping. Like, obviously, it would have been hard because, like, this being in the Middle East, obviously the sun's going to be out in your eyes and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that. But it would have been so funny to see like a TKO due to like fucking eye sun damage or something like that. Like, something like that would have been really funny. But if you've watched some of Movsar Evloev's old fights and some of Islam Makhachev's old fights, they literally have a ring in the middle of fucking just some random place in Dagestan, and you can see the mountains and shit like that. I shit you not. If you go watch some highlights of some of Movsar's early fights, he was literally fighting in the fucking open space, like with mountains literally right behind him, just a ring in the middle of fucking nowhere. It was really cool. Like aesthetically, it's really cool to watch. Like I was mostly focusing on the mountains. They got some real beautiful mountains in the background there for sure.
Wow. Yeah, no, I actually didn't know that about either one of them. I'll have to make sure I check out some of those highlights because that definitely sounds pretty sick for sure. Because I definitely haven't seen them.
Yeah, definitely. Like watching that, I was like, holy shit, yeah. Like I can understand why they're all mountain guys. The mountains they look beautiful. I'd definitely love to do some hiking in Dagestan or something like that one day. But yeah, it might be a bit difficult, but you never know.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've definitely never been hiking or anything like that. But yeah, no, I definitely think that'd be pretty sick. Hopefully the UFC maybe does that in the future. But I think the biggest issue would be if it like rained or something. But yeah,
Yeah, because if you look at Sam Alvey's record, he has like a no contest due to rainfall. So that's like a thing there. Like apparently it started raining so heavy during one of his fights. I guess it must have been one of those like outdoor fights, like that they do for some of the regional events. Maybe they maybe they don't do it as much now, but back in the day there would be a lot of events where it'd be like maybe King of the Cage, I think it was, where they would do a lot of outside events. And even in Here Comes the Boom, there was like a scene where in that movie where it starts raining, and obviously he's still fighting. Kevin James is still fighting in it, but like obviously in real life that doesn't happen. But yeah, like I feel like it'd be something similar to that. Maybe they started slipping all over the place or something.
yeah, no, that would definitely be wild. I forget what regional promotion it was too. It was a little off topic, but like the guy was like bleeding and like his blood was on the canvas and he like slipped on his own blood. So like I can only imagine like what it would be like if it
Yeah.
was like pouring down raining or something crazy like that.
I think that might have been Cage Warriors. That might have been
Yeah.
Nicholas Dalby versus Ross Houston. I think that was that fight. That was one of the craziest fights of all time. Literally stopped because there was just so much blood that they couldn't fight on the canvas anymore. Like that's how you know it's a crazy fight.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. And yeah, no, it's definitely it'd definitely be interesting if the UFC experimented with it a little bit more. But we'll see, I guess. It will definitely be interesting what the future kind of holds with the UFC and just MMA in general.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to see the growth of the sport. Like there is some crazy like fighters coming up. People are getting into the sport younger, older. It doesn't matter. Like so many crazy prospects are coming up from all walks of the life. Like that's probably one of the coolest things I think is just like all walks of life are getting into the sport now. Like obviously we have Tabak Orabai, who's like, from Kyrgyzstan, and like nobody knew where Kyrgyzstan was before. I do, like, because I'm a bit of a geography nerd, so I know all about these countries and stuff like that. But to see all these guys coming up from these nations that a lot of people don't know about, I think is really cool. Even Nursultan Ruzabayev from Uzbekistan, who lives in Philly as well, which is really
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know how he ended up in Philly, but like it is just cool to see all these guys from all walks of life, all religions, you know, economic backgrounds, religious backgrounds. Yeah, I just think it's cool to see where the sport's coming out. Before it used to be like a stereotype that it was just a bunch of, rednecks just like brawling it out and like a king of the cage or something like that. Like that used to be the stereotype about MMA, that it was just a sport for white guys, like redneck white guys or something like that. But now it's gotten to the point where it's not just for the like people like that. It's for all walks of life. Now it's for even super rich white guys, super rich black guys. It doesn't matter who it is. Like everybody just seems to love the sport now, which is really cool that it's become so mainstream as well.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've done a couple seminars with Andre Petrosky at my karate school and just like wherever he was kind of local to. And when we were out to eat, that was the one thing he was always mentioning, like, oh yeah, like I trained with this guy like Nurse. He's like he just got signed to the UFC, like he's going to be a big name, and he's already got like 1 million followers on Instagram and all this different stuff. So I was like, that was the first thing I did was like follow him, and I just kind of found out about Nurse, I guess like right when he got signed, like straight from after Petrosky said something. And with that being said, I saw him fight what was it in Atlantic City, and when he got that big win, I was actually like recording it, and when he got the finish over Dumas, and
Yeah,
he got like 300,000 views on Instagram. It's all like basically like Uzbekistan fans. They're like there would be like the same fan would comment like the same exact comment like 20 times in a row. It was
yeah,
ridiculous. Till this day, they're still doing it. Like I think I have like 300 or 400 followers I gained like straight off that. Like there was like Uzbekistan fans like thanking me and being like I'm a brother for life, and like Uzbekistan like all they did was just take a video of the guy winning his fight, and like it's insane the amount of support that they have for Nurse and just like in general. So I hope the best with Nurse and just all these other Uzbekistan fighters because their fans are definitely really really supportive. That's for sure.
yeah. Definitely. If you look at it's just it seems like a real Central Asian thing as well. Obviously, the Kazakh fans, the Kyrgyz fans, the Tajik fans, Uzbek fans. Probably we'll get a Turkmenistan fighter soon. But like these guys are really passionate about their fighters, and it's something I resent a little bit. Like I wish Australians were like this with our fighters. I wish we were going like fucking to war and comments and stuff like that. I respect how diehard these guys are for their fighters. Even I did a prediction for Buckley versus Nasultan, and I did pick Buckley, and I had so many like comments saying Nasultan's going to win, Nasultan this. I had so many dislikes and stuff like that, but it's like I just had to pick who I thought was going to win. But I do respect how passionate these guys are. Even I think it was MMA based goddess. She did like that video about Nasultan, and it did so many views on there. So many like Uzbeks just all comment on it. So I do love how passionate they all are for their fighters.
I'm so glad you mentioned her because that's like one of the very first people I like reached out to on like DMs and like everything because like I was like, dude, you're gonna like go places. You have like a good personality. You're gonna like you got a good look for everything. Like you're definitely gonna like grow. Just stick with it and stay consistent. And that was the one thing I told her. It was like like look at my Instagram with like Nurse. Like these Uzbekistan fans are crazy, and she was like, I'm gonna do a breakdown like video of him like just to kind of do it. And then she was like bugging about like the different names and like I was like, oh, like I have to make sure like I highlight all the different stuff. And yeah, she was getting like crazy amount of subscribers. I think she gained like 300, 400 subscribers, like just strictly off that video. And she's like, oh, they're probably going to unfollow and stuff. And I'm like, no, it's going to be the opposite. Like these Uzbekistan fans are going to be like your fans for life. Like, yeah, that was definitely a really, really smart video on her part. And yeah, shout out to her, man. I definitely love talking to her. And I definitely think she's going to be like a pretty big star in this game if she sticks with it, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Like she's definitely got all the makings for it, like just like, and I'm not saying this to discredit her or anything, but her being a woman is like an attractive woman too, is going to help her get really far, like in this place, like just yeah, she's going to go real far. I reckon. Like people are just going to see that she's attractive and a woman, and they're just going to follow her. But she's also, yeah, she does have good takes, and she does make really good videos. Like that was a really well edited video as well. That the Sultan video with the Uzbek music and stuff like that in the background was pretty cool.
Yeah, and like that's the other thing too. Like she doesn't have an editor or anything. She's doing that all herself. So like that's pretty cool. That like I said, that she's like growing what she's growing. But she's definitely gonna hate you for saying that too. She always like say it to me. Like there's all these like guys in her DMs that are like, I can make you a star if you just jump on my show. And she's like,
Yeah,
she keeps getting that women card thing too. So she definitely is like, she definitely gets annoyed by it. But I'm like, yeah, I'm like, you're gonna pass me. I know it's gonna happen. Like I know I'm getting all these like UFC fighters, but like if you just literally stay consistent, I know for a fact you're gonna grow faster than me because like you got good takes, you're good looking, like that's
yeah.
just how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's not really, when you think about it, there's not really too many women MMA creators. Like, I can't think of the top of my head. There is that English woman. I can't remember her name, but she's like a real big Islam Makhachev simp. She's like,
Oh,
I don't know.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the clips, but there's like her talking about Islam, and she's doing
Yeah.
she's getting like it's getting hot and heavy in the room, but she's got a pretty good following herself. And she's one of the only female content creators I see in the MMA space. So I feel like, yeah, just being a female MMA content creator will definitely help. Obviously, not discrediting the hard work and everything they do, but it is definitely a factor that they are going to help. It's going to help grow their accounts like amazingly. So yeah, definitely a big benefit there. But yeah, not to discredit any of the work they do.
No, no doubt about it. No, she definitely works hard, and but yeah, I definitely think she's going to grow pretty soon if she sticks with it. But the interesting thing about her too is she used to train, or I guess I don't know if she still trains, but she definitely trained for a while in like Thailand, all these different places. So like she's got a lot of cool stories too about her background. If she ever wants to drop it, and like she was telling me
Yeah,
like she used to train with like the Tafa Bros and stuff before they were in the UFC. So like if she just drops a video on that, like that's going to get a crap ton of views. Like, oh, I used to train with Tafa, and like maybe drop
yeah.
something that like maybe like people don't know about Tafa, and like yeah, again, like you said, good looking girl, she trains, UFC fighters, it's gonna do numbers. Like just do it. You know what I mean? So I
Oh,
definitely think she's gonna go pretty big, no doubt.
yeah, and I can only imagine the stories she would have training in Thailand, especially with the Tougher brothers. Like them, like especially like just knowing how Samoans are, like they're just real chill party people. Like they don't really hide anything. So I can imagine they would just being their true selves around her and stuff like that. She'd probably have some really crazy stories to tell. Like
Yeah.
Tougher brothers are legends. Especially Junior. Junior's personality, he is like he doesn't give a single fuck about like Justin doesn't give a fuck either, but like Justin's a lot more calm and collected about stuff. Junior will just be like, yeah, fuck this cunt. Like he will just explain stuff like right to the point. So yeah, I'm sure she has some crazy stories there.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, hopefully if she sees this video, which I'm sure she will, I'll make sure I message her about it. And yeah, hopefully she sticks with it, and hopefully she gets some
Yeah,
subscribers off this because she's definitely going to be pretty big. Because I think that's the thing with like whatever Nina's doing nowadays. I guess
yeah,
like a couple of weeks, like she's been posting like some really like interesting stuff recently, and I don't think that would be the base guy's route. You know, what I mean, I think she would probably just stick
Yeah,
to herself and being more of like kind of like a meme, kind of like not really dissing the fighters, but like also having like some edgier takes. So I think she could definitely have a future with it. And I have no idea what really Nina's doing nowadays with these like interesting posts, but I definitely do respect Nina and all her hard work. That's for sure.
yeah, definitely. Like I will say, a lot of people shit on Nina Drama, but I do. I can't lie. I do enjoy her interview style.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it is good to get that more unserious side out of the fighters. Like it is. Like it's just good to show their personalities a little bit. Another guy who does, a guy who does really good interviews is Alex Buchan. I hope I
yes,
didn't
yep,
mispronounce
yep.
his name. He is fucking super underrated in the scene. His humanizing fighters. I love that. That's a great series he does. He deserves a lot more respect. Breaks so many fights and stuff like that. I feel like that's a guy who needs to be up there with like the top journalists, like with the Helwanis and the Okamotos and stuff like that. I think that's a guy who really needs more respect. So yeah, shout out to Alex.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a good dude, and I'm glad you mentioned him. Another guy I really like to listen to is Instagram or his X handle is the Korean John. I really
Yeah,
like him, or like Hun Ko, I believe his name is. Man,
yeah,
he's definitely really solid in my opinion. He's like kind of tells it how it is. He's like he's not like too serious, but he's like professional. He's got like kind of it all. And I was just talking to
yeah,
him not too long ago in another interview with him, and he was giving me like some really solid advice on like kind of how to go about things, how to kind of react to certain questions and all that different stuff. So like I definitely think he's like one of the top guys. He's only got like 7,000 followers on X, but I definitely think he
yeah.
deserves to be at the top as well.
Yeah, definitely. There is some real like underrated guys in the scene as well. Like I feel like Brett Okamoto, I don't know how, like, I don't want to shit on his past achievements and everything like that, but he barely does like interviews now. I swear, like, we don't really see him break fights or anything like he used to. Like, but he's still like one of the top journalists. I feel like there's a lot, like, not to discredit, I'm sure he's probably exhausted from doing all the work and everything like that. So I don't want to, shit on him, but I feel like there are some guys who could definitely overtake Okamoto in the coming years, maybe even the next, like, maybe this year, like, in that hierarchy. Even maybe Hawani. I feel like Hawani's focusing a little less on MMA nowadays, and he's focusing more on like the influencer scene and pro wrestling. It seems like I feel like there's definitely some room for the top dogs to get overtaken in the coming years. I reckon in the MMA journalist scene.
I definitely think too, not only like could they get overtaken, but I do think too, like some of these like older like journalists and stuff, like again, no disrespect to them because they put in the hard work and everything like that. But like sometimes I just kind of get bored of listening to them. So like I kind of do like the Nina dramas sometimes, or like even like the Schmo, where like they just have like that
Yeah,
funner style where like it brings out more of the personality of these fighters because I know how these fighters are probably going to predict their fights. They're probably going to have like the same old training partner questions, but like hearing like that more fun side about them, like that Nina brings out, or the Schmo, or just some guys like that, I definitely think is like more interesting to me. And I think that's another big reason like I like doing the interviews is because it's like I know what questions I want to ask them, and I know like some of these questions are going to be more unique than some of these older journalists that kind of ask like more of the similar stuff all the time.
yeah, definitely. I like to my style. I sort of like to. Have you ever seen I think his name Nardwar or something like that? The
Yes,
guy
yes,
who
yes, yes.
I sort of like to do stuff like that where I'll research heavily. Like I'll go look through their tagged photos. I'll try and see if I can find anything about them, and I throw them off guard by some of the questions. Like I've had a few guys like, "Holy fuck, how did you know about that?" Like I sort of like that whole Nardwar type style. I guess that is sort of what the show's doing, but I feel like I'm more not like doing it as like the personality, but just the questions, like just getting them off guard with like questions about their life that they wouldn't expect anyone to ask. But yeah, I feel like that's like another cool thing to do.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact quote, but I remember like asking he was a former UFC fighter, Johnny Munoz, like a question. He was like, "Well, where'd you hear that from?" And he like gave me like a crazy look, and I was like, "Oh, I heard it from like another interview or something along those lines." And he was like, "Oh, okay." But like I remember like in my head, I was like, "Oh, that was sick." Like he was like, "Where the hell did this kid hear that?" So like I definitely thought that was pretty cool. And that's kind of like my style with it too. Like, I always try to find like one little nugget or something about them, like that maybe I can sprinkle in that they didn't know about, or maybe that little nugget will get them to open up a little bit more than they would have for somebody else. And so I definitely think that's kind of my style too, because I definitely think Narbor, he obviously does some crazy research.
Yeah, like yeah, crazy, crazy. Like I'm not going to the extent where I'm like finding out their secrets from when they were like 12 years old or anything like that. But like, I'm finding out some information about them. Like I'm doing the deep dive and everything like that. So yeah, it is cool to get that recognized when they're like, holy shit, how does this guy know about that? So yeah. Uh, Johnny Munoz, he's an interesting guy because he was actually Sean Strickland's coach at one point when he
Yeah.
was like early UFC debuted around that time. Yeah, they were main training partners. And I think he was his jiu-jitsu coach.
Yeah, no, he's definitely an underrated guy that doesn't get talked about enough, and I definitely was appreciative to talk to him. And yeah, he's definitely an exciting fighter when he was fighting in the UFC.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, crazy style as well. Like just very jujitsu heavy guy. Like you don't really see that style. That's why it was interesting when he fought Mini Oliveira, Daniel Santos. That was an interesting fight. You know, seeing that sort of style, like him trying to pull off like the Damian Maia type thing on a Brazilian was really interesting to see there. That was an interesting fight there, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, he's definitely a fun fighter, and yeah, no, I definitely was happy to talk to him, and that's always my big goal, I guess, with these fighters too, is try to find that one little nugget and try to help them kind of blow their mind a little bit, and hopefully the fans too, like, can kind of see like a different side of them, like compared to like one interview to another. That's always my other goal too. I don't want to be asking the same things compared to somebody else. I mean, even if it's a similar question, I always like try to at least try to put my own spin on it as best I can.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll rewatch a lot of the interviews with guys that I'm going to interview, and then I'll see if they got asked a question. Then I'll sort of ask like a follow up question I had to it. Like I'll ask it, and then I'll be like, so yeah, I heard you talk about so and so in an interview, and then I'll like add my own, yeah, like you said, your own spin to it. Like I'll because I'll watch interviews and I'll think, I feel like someone could have followed up with a question after that. Like they could have asked a bit more about that. Like even in my own interviews, I'll watch them back, and I'm my own biggest critic. I'll watch it back and I'm like, shit, I could have asked more about that. Like I should have pushed a bit more for that question. But I feel like that's a good trait to have if you watch your interviews back and you're like, yeah, I definitely could have improved on that. I could have asked a bit more on that. I feel like if as long as you watch your interviews and you're like, yeah, I'm not perfect. There's more things I could add. I feel like that's just continued growth in this space for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely noticed that as well too. Like when I'm like the Korean John, like he was saying, like you have to learn how to kind of like react to the questions. Like I always think like as I'm in the moment, like I'll be like 100% or like just saying like the same old thing, and I'll be like in my
Yeah,
head like I can't start like I can't keep saying that, but like
yeah, yeah,
it's
exactly.
natural at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll there's what's like when sometimes when they're talking like, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'll say that. I'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Like I'll say absolutely about 40 times in an interview, and I'll like go like that. It's like, fuck man, I gotta stop doing that. Like I gotta just like, I don't know, I gotta just put myself on mute and just not, I just gotta let them speak or something like that. But yeah, I absolutely agree on that. That's probably going back to that question you asked about what's like one of the worst things. I think it's just repeating myself a lot, like saying absolutely or 100%. Like, yeah, that's definitely something. Maybe people don't even notice that, but I notice it when I'll rewatch my interviews and I'll be like, fuck, that's like something that would annoy me if I was like watching somebody else's interview. So I can only imagine how other people feel.
Yeah, no, it definitely bothers me, and that's definitely like my biggest critique. I would say if I had to pick something like that, but yeah, it's definitely gets interesting to try to react them. I don't even think I even say like absolutely a lot like a real life conversation. I think it honestly is from
Yeah,
watching like other people that like react to these interviews and stuff. But I think from martial arts, there was one like drill that they would always make us do as teachers, where it was like from like A to Z, or like try to think of like one compliment or something, like using different things. So then we would have like a kid come up and be like, A, like awesome, B, beautiful, C, cool, like something like dumb like that, where I'm like trying to get back in that mindset where I can be like, how can I think of like a different like compliment or something along those lines, where like I'm obviously switching it up so it gets a little bit more exciting for the person listening.
yeah, definitely. And your gym is Premier Martial Arts, right?
That's
That's your
correct. Yeah.
Taekwondo gym. Is that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a that's like a franchise, right? Because I did train at a that was the gym I trained at when I did a Taekwondo class. Is that like a worldwide franchise or something?
It's yeah, it's nationwide at the moment. There's 250 schools like plus I believe at the moment. So my boss owns two at the moment, and he's looking to get two more. So yeah, it's nationwide. Like I was in New York and I posted like some of my stuff like when I was doing the kicks and some of the videos there. There was a guy from like the United Kingdom he was teaching me, and his name was Ricky Lamb and stuff. And there's like people from all over that are doing it. Like there's another guy, his
Yeah,
name's Tommy Crouch, and like he was like a somebody that trained other Chuck Norris, and like there's a lot of these martial artists that are slowly moving over to Premier Martial Arts. I think just because of like the big backing it has, and like some of these
yeah.
martial artists are just not as good at the marketing and that kind of stuff. So they need like a Premier Martial Arts to kind of get them to that next level. And yeah, it's interesting how it's been kind of growing. I mean, I was teaching at a lot smaller at a school for like 5 years, and I felt like I was kind of plateauing, and I was like, I kind of do a little bit better if somebody else gives me an offer. And I found Premier Martial Arts, and yeah, I've just been growing and loving it ever since, and I definitely think it's only elevated my teaching game, and it definitely gave me the confidence too to get behind a camera and start like recording myself and doing different stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you do the? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember what it's called. But at the end of the after the lesson, it's the where you have to like follow the things where it's like, what's the name of it? It's like you, one leg forward, then you turn the other leg, and then it's like six different steps, and you just keep doing more and more steps as you go up in belts. Do you do that at the end of your classes?
I do not. No, I don't know what you're referring to. The only thing I was thinking you were maybe going to say was maybe like a student creed where we make the kids or like the kids say like certain thing like before the class and after the class. But no, when it comes to like the six steps or something like that, I can't think about what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I bet after this interview's done, I'll probably remember it. But it's like, yeah, first it's like you're doing the punches, like it's like slow doing like step by step doing the punches. You move over, then it's like boom, boom, like stuff like that. But I can't actually remember what it's called. But we used to always do that in our lessons when I was at Premier Martial Arts.
I think I know what you're talking about now. It's something. It might be like one of those kickboxing combos or something along those lines. We have to do like a jab or a cross or a hook. I can't
But it's like
remember.
it's not like we're doing it. We're doing it step by step, so it's like a slow thing. It's like, oh man, like I can't believe I can't remember what it's called. I used to hate it because I was so bad at it. Because I'm more of a just doing stuff in the moment sort of thing. When I slow things down, it's like because I get my lefts and rights mixed up quite a lot. So it's like I was really fucking uncoordinated when it came to doing that. Like with the actual sparring and stuff like that, I'm really good with my movement and stuff like that. But doing that slow stuff where you just got to follow what the coach is doing. Yeah, it's like some shit straight out of Cobra Kai. Like it's sort of like that. That's like how to describe it. It's like yeah, I don't even know what it would be called, but if I can remember what it is, I'll shoot you a message.
Yeah, no, you definitely need to because I'm definitely curious what you're referring to. But yeah, I can't think of anything like that off the top of my head that we do. But the only thing I could have made sense to me was maybe like a student creed where we have the kids like say something before and after class. But I don't think that's what you're referring to at all.
Yeah, I don't think there was any speaking in it, but sometimes we do breathing and stuff like that at the end of the class as well. Do you do that where it's like, it's like being present after like doing all the stuff like the our coach would like just make us do like all breathing exercises and stuff like that, and then that would be the end. Do you do like stuff like that at the end of your lessons? Like, what is your end of lesson like regimen? Like, what do you do after the lesson? Do you have like a practice in place?
When it comes to just like ending the classes, I try to just like give them like, like kind of like a breakdown, kind of like what we did, like kind of like just like reminding them what we did, maybe like what the goals would be like in the future classes and just like kind of stuff like that. I mean, always just kind of reminding them too, like, how much time they have for like their next belt or like what they should kind of like be doing at home. Like, with all my students, I like to give them like I believe it's like a 6 week tracker or maybe even a little bit longer than that. I'd have to relook at it, maybe send it to you. But long story short with it, every single student they have to complete like X amount of time at home to practice like their certain kicks or their punches in order to just even like belt test for me, even if they're just going for like their very first belt. Like I just want them to have that like commitment of like training at home, just like doing it at the school as well too. It doesn't even need to be long, like even if it's like 15, 20 minutes, but like just that they're showing that they're putting in the time and their effort and like filling out these charts is like something I try to do for them. I mean, I always like try to give them like not like an individual goal, but I would say like for example, like we have like white, yellow, and orange would be our beginner levels. So like the beginner levels would all be kind of having that same goal to get to the intermediates, and then the intermediates and advanced, they all kind of have their own different levels. So like I try to give them something like that, I guess, at home to kind of like help them grow. And I would say that's kind of, I guess, maybe like my end of lesson thing. Like, make sure you guys are keeping up on that. If you guys like have any questions, like I'm always here, just like little stuff like that to try to ensure them like their heads on straight and they're going to make sure that they're getting the best experience from me. Number one, because they're paying, and then number two, obviously they're enjoying it, and then number three, they got to make sure they're going to get the best version of themselves. So that's why I try to push them to do it at home because they don't do it at home or just if they're only showing up like once or twice a week. I mean, they definitely need to stay limber, stretch, and just do little stuff like that to stay on top of their body.
Yeah, definitely. That was one thing I noticed was the like we'd do like wall kicks where we'd have like a hand on the wall and then we'd like throw the kicks out and we'd have to do that for like a minute or something like that. That
Yeah.
was something where I was like realizing, yeah, flexibility is like a big part when it comes to these kicks. Like yeah, that's definitely something you can do at home. Like, there's definitely a lot of practices you can do at home to, come into class and then be maybe a bit more flexible, be a bit more like, ready to be able to throw kicks and punches and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely, I definitely enjoyed my time there. But I feel like if I do train again, I think I'm gonna do like MMA or something like that, just because I see myself maybe competing one day in like an amateur fight or something like that.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I definitely think like my taekwondo background is a lot of fun, but I definitely also too like I know better than hey, look, if I got an amateur fight, if somebody takes me down, I'm just as good as the common guy on the street. I've only done a little bit of jujitsu here and there, but I mean, I'm definitely like nobody special on it. So if I got taken down, I'd be pretty screwed. So with that being said, I definitely think if like we mentioned earlier, if I was to get like some kind of fight book with like an influencer and it only was like an MMA option, I mean, I would definitely have to like try and maybe not really abandon it, but I think I would try to go more the Muay Thai route for my striking, and then I would try to go more of like a wrestling kind of base to kind of make myself a little bit more well rounded against like whoever I'd be competing against, even if it is just another influencer. I definitely wouldn't want to get embarrassed or anything like that. I want to give myself the best shot.
Yeah, we don't want to see a repeat of Rebellis de Spain versus Waldo Cortez Acosta by any means. A Taekwondo guy gets taken down. It's like, oh, fuck, nothing to do here.
I was talking to him in an interview and I was telling him that, like, I was like, dude, like, that was kind of like a bummer for me. Like, as a Taekwondo guy, like, just freaking, exposed our whole game and made me feel like Taekwondo is
Yeah.
worthless. And yeah, it was kind of funny talking to him in that sense because I was like, that was one fight I could actually say I was like so like annoyed with, not even like at Despain or not even like Waldo either, because it was obviously the game plan to win, but it was just like, oh, like Taekwondo, like you just got exposed so bad. And like, I just been doing it my whole life. It was just like, I felt like I just like wasted time in a sense just watching it.
Yeah, but exactly. But there is still guys like, Pettis is Taekwondo based, Yaya Rodriguez Taekwondo based. Like, Taekwondo is still a very good martial art. Like, especially with spinning kicks. If you really want a flashy type style, Taekwondo is definitely the way to go. Like, Taekwondo is probably the best. I'd say just overall kicking martial art is probably Taekwondo. Just if you want to work on some kicks, front kicks, spinning kicks, it's probably the best way to go. Obviously, Muay Thai is probably better for like clinching, kneeing, elbowing sort of stuff. Then karate is probably good for distance management. But I feel like Taekwondo is probably the best like overall kicking martial art. At least they've
Oh yeah.
got that
Yeah.
going strong.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it has the best style kicks. And I mean, I think the other thing too that's interesting about like me too when it comes to like martial arts is like I'm really, really solid like when it comes to like weapons and stuff. Like I'm really solid with like the bow and like the nunchucks and like the kamas. So
Yeah,
like I definitely think that's a pretty cool like thing as well too that like would be maybe fun in the future too, like teach people how to do like nunchuck videos or like staff, just different stuff like that. I think people would probably enjoy watching as well too because again, I'm not like anything crazy with it, but I definitely think, like other influencers and stuff definitely have no idea how to do that stuff. And I think it would be like a fun thing to kind of do. And like I mentioned too, if I went to these fighters' gyms and like maybe I brought like my nunchucks or something, and like maybe I handed them a pair of nunchucks and we just like spun nunchucks together or something, I think that'd be pretty wild.
yeah, no, that'd be cool. I mean, hey, who knows what the next combat sport's going to be? Did you ever watch that medieval MMA that they had in Russia with like the knight's armor, and they would wear knight's armor and they would actually have like ground and pound and stuff like that? Have you watched any of them fights?
No, I haven't actually, but like I've seen a lot of these nutty promotions of like the freaking people like fighting in cars and like the phone booths. So like I'm sure it's definitely out there. I'll have to check it out for sure.
Yeah, I'll send you a clip after this
Yeah.
interview though of the medieval MMA. It's one of the funniest things because they're wearing like the shield and they have like swords. Obviously, they're blunt swords. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. I don't think they'd be have them fucking fighting with actual swords. But they're wearing like complete like knight's armor, and you see them shoot takedowns, and they're actually using the shield for ground and pound in it.
Oh
It's
my
one of the
God.
funniest things I've ever seen. And yeah, it's like a big thing over in Russia. I think even M1 was doing it. They were doing the medieval, and M1 is like, I think that was Fedor Emelianenko's promotion at one point. So that's pretty crazy to see that them doing some real unorthodox stuff like that.
Yeah. And there was another guy I was talking to. It was like No Use Namajunas. He was calling it something else, Carenzo, or I believe it was called. But yeah, I call him like Kali sticks and stuff to what I was doing. And yeah, he was like mentioning about like how he likes to use those. And I was like, I mean, like I have the Kali sticks. So like, and then he actually invited me out to like train with him in like Denver, I guess one day, which would probably be awesome. And then like he's got like a Taekwondo background and stuff. And
Yeah.
with that being said, I mean, I think that would be like hilarious to maybe do like a video with him, like learning with him, maybe do like a Carenzo like skit with him or something funny like that. So I think it would definitely be like an interesting kind of thing to see, like, where this channel could keep going. And especially with the martial arts background, I think people would be pretty interested to tune into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I think you can definitely go very far in this space, especially having like the Taekwondo background and martial arts background. I feel like maybe you could do some like, I reckon if you did a video breaking down Joe Rogan's like spinning back kick KO that he's got, I reckon that would be really good because you could break that down to a T having the Taekwondo background. I reckon if you did some sort of video like that, breaking down some like Taekwondo techniques or just kicking techniques in general, I reckon that'd be really good for your channel because you would know better than anyone. You're a Taekwondo instructor.
Yeah, that's honestly a good point because like I'm sure like that video is just like iconic. I mean, that would definitely just get views no matter
Yeah.
what. Even if it was just like a short or something, I mean, that would probably just get like some
Yeah, no,
views.
definitely.
That's a good point. I think my biggest concern with just like reaction videos is just like this
The
copyright strikes.
copyright.
Like I'm so
Yeah.
worried about all that stuff, man.
Oh, trust me, it's a pain in the ass. I've applied for monetization about 3 times now, and I got rejected all times because apparently I had reused content. Uh, so I privated all the shorts I did where I was like breaking down fight clips, and then I realized that it was probably because I had a few copyrighted videos from like a year ago that I didn't even realize. So hopefully next time I apply, I do have monetization. But yeah, you got to be careful. If you see that yellow copyright thing on your videos, just fucking delete it. It's not worth the hassle to keep it up. Because yeah, it is a pain in the ass not to be able to get monetized after all the work. I could have been getting monetized about January or something like that, and instead now we're 5 months away. I got to wait till June or July before I can apply again. Yeah, so like it's a real pain in the ass, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I actually had like issues with it as well too when I was first starting my channel. Like I was trying to do like highlights like right after the fights like an idiot and like I was like editing it, but like it was working fine on TikTok and like I was like,
Yeah,
oh, like if it works fine on TikTok, it should be fine on YouTube. And then like I was just getting like flag left and right from like I guess
yeah,
like bot accounts and stuff with the UFC. And I was like, well, I can't be doing that anymore. And now it's like I have all these interviews and like I have like not a ton, but I mean like I have like 600 subscribers. So I'm like, okay, like I don't want to start back over again because that would definitely blow.
oh,
So like I'm definitely
absolutely.
very worried about it.
Yeah, especially getting all that watch time and everything. Like you got to get 4,000 watch hours and all this stuff. It's crazy. Like people don't realize how hard it is to get monetized as well. Like the fucking effort it's been the last year. I can't restart. I'm just gonna have to delete all the videos I can because I'm definitely not restarting this channel up again. Like I've put too much work into it to give up and start a new one now.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in the same boat. Like I said, that's definitely like my biggest concern because like I definitely want to do this reaction once, but it's like I definitely want to maybe talk to a couple people about it or like really like get like a good editor that knows like good stuff about it because like I'm definitely weary about doing it on my own, like screwing something over, especially with like all the interviews I have. Like I posted like 40, but I definitely feel like I have like at least 20 or 30 more that I haven't uploaded. So it's like I like didn't upload those and like lost my channel and stuff like that would definitely be horrible.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, I hope I didn't take up too much of your time here, man. I know you were like doing like a bit of an outro like an hour ago, but we went a little bit over there.
No, no, not at all. Like I said, I've been enjoying talking to you. I was hoping I didn't keep you too long as well, too, because
No,
like I
no,
was, yeah, no,
you're
I was
fine.
only trying to, I was only trying to go for like a half hour or anything. So like
Yeah,
it was awesome to like kind of get all this extra insight with you, just kind of meeting
yeah,
you a little bit more. So like I definitely appreciate you like coming on and talking to me and everything like that. So again, thank you again for all your time, and hopefully we can do another one again in the future, man. And we keep
yeah,
growing, and like I said, hopefully Misfits, Karate Combat, someone like that, they take notice to each of us, man. And hopefully one day we can kind of get a little bit more notice, and hopefully you reach your goal too with that play-by-play thing. I think that would be really, really cool. And yeah, I think you
yeah,
maybe inspired me a little bit to kind of look more into that, and maybe we should go back and forth a little bit more about that, and yeah, connect more in
yeah.
the future. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's cool to get interviewed. It's weird to be on the other side because obviously I've been interviewed by the UFC when the whole Jack Jenkins thing happened, where they wrote an article and stuff like that. But it's weird to say that I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've been the interviewer and the interviewed. Like, and I'm not even a fighter. Like that is pretty cool. Yeah, it's definitely something I tell the future children and grandkids one day when they come. But yeah, thank you so much, man. I had a great time talking. Yeah, no, it was a pleasure talking, man. I could talk about mixed martial arts and fights in general for hours, man. Like I could literally, if this could go for 12 hours, I could probably be talking for 12 hours. But obviously, there's things to do in the day and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. For anyone watching, yeah, go subscribe to my channel, Benderman 2001. Also Benny P MMA will also come up, and yeah, also follow me on Twitter, BenderMan2001. Yeah, and even follow me on Instagram. Actually, I'll give my Instagram up. My Instagram is benp_2001. So yeah, give me a follow on there. I post a lot of my suggestions for interviews and stuff like that as well, and I upload all my interviews on there as well for my YouTube channel. So yeah, just check out my channel, guys. And yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kev. I really do appreciate it. It was a good chat.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. And I would definitely say too, the funniest thing about when I first met you was like I think I just like saw like I don't even know what it was, maybe just you on X, and like I just thought you were just like a guy that was just breaking like fights in just like Australia, and then
Yeah,
like I was watching one of your interviews with like Jack Jenkins, and then he was like, and then you mentioned like, do you still get like talks about like me with like the Jack Jenkins situation? I was like, wait a minute, I was like, that's a guy who was just like DMing. I was like, that's a guy that like did
yeah,
that with Jack Jenkins. Like I remember that from like years ago. So like I remember even
yeah,
saying that to you. I was like, dude, like you didn't even like tell me like you were the Jack Jenkins guy. So, like, yeah, that was really, really funny to me in like the beginning. I just thought you were like some guy breaking fights in Australia, and
yeah,
then watched that interview and I definitely saw that. So I definitely think that was funny that like I didn't even know that off the rip. And I'm glad I do now. And yeah, you're a good
yeah.
dude, man. And, hopefully, big things in your future. And again, thank you so much for coming on and talking and being a little bit longer, and enjoy the rest of your day, man. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. What's your previous like longest interview before this?
My previous one, I would probably say was 45 with Tim Crater.
Oh, okay. Holy shit. Yeah, we definitely went a little over there, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably one thing with my interviews. And my interviews go for so long because I really can just talk and talk, man. Like, I used to be the quiet kid at school, which is crazy to think that I'm doing what I'm doing now. But I was literally the kid that nobody really knew about because I was just quiet. And one day I just like some guy tried to pick on me and I beat the shit out of him. And then more people knew who I was after that. And then that's when I had like a bit of a name, but I was still always just known as the quiet kid at school. So for me to this to be where I'm like going with my life is probably like very surprising, especially for some of the teachers and stuff like that to see me cooking up a whole yappuccino on the daily with these interviews.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it, man. No, I definitely say the same thing. Like I said, I wasn't the most like outgoing guy, and I'm still not. I mean, I'm pretty like reserved, like martial artist. I mean, if you meet me in person, I'm not like like the craziest outgoing guy in the world. So it's definitely funny that like when I'm on like camera and stuff, I'm able to like have the confidence to talk to like these monsters and stuff in the UFC or even like these amateurs
Yeah.
and just in general. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, man, I definitely see some big things in your future, and hopefully we can keep growing and keep connecting. And it's been awesome, man. Thank you again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, thanks for the time. Thanks for thinking I'm worthy enough of an interview as well. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, it's crazy to get interviewed at this point. So yeah, thank you so much, man. And yeah, big things for you as well. You're killing it with the interviews. So yeah, just keep that grind going, and you'll definitely get bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah, hopefully, man. And yeah, again, thank you so much. And yeah, we're looking forward to the next one, man. And best of luck with everything you got going on.
Easy. Thank you. You too, man.
My man. All right, take care, Benny P. Thank you again, man.
Thank you. You too.